Welcome to Wife Cheating Story. I hope you have an enjoyable and relaxing time listening. Let's get started.
You ever have that moment just before the crash when time slows down? When you see the impact coming, but you can't move, can't scream, can't stop it? That was me. Standing in my own home, watching my wife pretend I didn't exist. Her lipstick was smudged. The wine glass on the table was half full. And her phone locked the second she saw me. She flinched when I kissed her cheek. That's when I knew. The woman I built a life with was already gone, and she had no idea I was about to bury her secrets before she could bury me. Before we dive into the full story, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. And if you're enjoying this tale, don't forget to subscribe and tap the notification bell so you never miss any of our upcoming stories. I've always thought that a man's true strength lies in how calmly he can decipher lies from truth. My name is Raymond Cole, and I spent 8 years in the Air Force before pivoting into private security consulting. I used to think my life was a jigsaw puzzle of secrets and vigilance, but ironically, the biggest mystery was unfolding in my own home. I got back to Chicago earlier than expected, 2 days earlier to be exact. My last assignment wrapped up smoothly in Nebraska, so I hopped on a flight without telling my wife, Kelsey. We'd been married for 4 years, together for 6, and in all that time, I'd never sensed the undercurrent of tension I was about to face. Kelsey is a dynamic force in marketing at Trevor & Associates, a big corporate firm downtown. She's always out at some conference or team-building event, wearing killer heels and a confident smile that makes people sit up and take notice. She'd told me a week ago that things were busy. That's her favorite word. Busy. Clients wanted more. Trevor, her boss, wanted more. She was crucial to their success, she'd said. So I came home on a random Tuesday afternoon, thrilled at the idea of surprising her. I carried my duffel bag up the driveway. That's when I noticed a glossy black sedan idling just a few houses down. The engine purred softly. I glanced at it, but it sped off the moment I did a double take. Strange. It's the suburbs. People don't typically lurk in black sedans. Either you park and visit a neighbor or you drive away. I told myself maybe it was an Uber or Lyft driver waiting for a passenger, but something about the way it peeled out put my nerves on alert. I opened my front door to find the house eerily quiet, except for a whisper of music from the living room. Kelsey was there, perched on the arm of our couch with her laptop. She looked startled when she saw me like she'd seen a ghost. "What are you doing here, Ray?" she said, snapping her laptop shut. Her voice was tight. "I thought you weren't back until Thursday." "Glad to see you too." I set my bag down. "The contract ended early, so I hopped on a flight." She swallowed, forcing a smile. That's good. "Welcome home, babe." But her eyes darted from me to the laptop, as though she were silently cursing herself for not shutting it sooner. On the coffee table was a half-finished glass of white wine. Kelsey rarely drank in the middle of the day, definitely not alone. I moved closer, wanting a kiss hello, but she stood up and walked to the kitchen, almost like she was dodging me. "Let me, clean this up," she said, picking up the wine and hurrying to the sink. The entire vibe felt off. We'd been apart for a week. Normally, she'd hug me, kiss me, ask me about my trip. This time, she was acting like I was an intruder. I'm a private security consultant these days, but it's basically an extension of the investigative instincts I honed in the Air Force. My job is to spot unusual patterns, to sense disruptions in the normal flow. "Kelsey," I said, leaning against the counter, "everything okay?" She laughed, but it sounded forced. "Of course. Just a million things going on at the office. Trevor's been emailing me non-stop. I have to finish a big project tonight." I studied her face. Her eyes were puffy, like she hadn't slept. There was tension in her jaw. That black sedan flitted through my mind again. Yeah, a big project? She nodded, turning on the faucet to rinse the glass, refusing to meet my eyes. I might be up late, so if you don't mind, maybe I'll just crash in the guest room so I don't disturb your rest. You must be tired from traveling. Tired from traveling? Usually she'd want to cozy up and share stories. Instead, she's planning to isolate herself. A small jolt of suspicion pulsed through my gut, but I played along. Sure, I said. I'll order some takeout later if you want any. She turned around, flicking the water off. I already ate, but thanks, maybe tomorrow. We stood there in an awkward hush. My phone buzzed with an incoming call, Ivan. Good timing because it broke the tension. Kelsey paused. I have a conference call. I'll be in my office. Then she disappeared upstairs, laptop cradled to her chest. I answered Ivan's call. Hey, man. Ivan was my longtime friend from my Air Force days, now working as a cyber forensics consultant. Dude, you made it home, right? He said. How's Kelsey? I wandered into the living room, lowering my voice. Kelsey's preoccupied, I murmured, scanning the room. Something's weird, Ivan. I told him about the black sedan, the uneasy vibe, how she snapped her laptop shut. He gave a soft whistle. Could be nothing, but your instincts are rarely wrong, Ray. Keep your eyes open, okay? Then he added something that made my stomach clench. By the way, last week I was downtown for a meeting. Pretty sure I saw Kelsey at that fancy sushi place on North Dearborn. She was with a tall guy in a slick suit. Not Trevor. Some older dude, maybe in his mid-50s. I waved, but I guess she didn't see me. I stared at the floor, my mind spinning. Kelsey had never mentioned any sushi lunch with a tall, older man. Could it be a client, maybe? I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. Could be, Ivan said, but I remember thinking she looked cozy with him. Hate to say it, Ray, but you told me to always relay suspicious stuff, so I am. Thanks, I appreciate it. My breath tightened. We hung up and I sank onto the sofa, noticing Kelsey's open email tab on the TV screen. She'd obviously done a screen share earlier. The couch smelled faintly of perfume, not the usual brand she wore. Another detail that hit me as I inhaled. Then I decided to check the outside security camera feed, which is stored on a local drive in our house. I headed to the small utility closet where we keep that system. This might confirm or deny my swirling suspicions. The recent timestamp showed Kelsey returning home last night around 2 a.m. She got out of a black sedan, the same one I'd glimpsed earlier, and it wasn't an Uber. The license plate was partially visible. I jotted it down. The footage resolution was decent enough that I could see her leaning into the driver's window for a moment, smiling. Then she walked up the driveway and he drove off. Who was that man? Why was she out so late? My phone buzzed again. This time it was Kelsey texting me from upstairs. I'm on a call. Could you keep it down? Thanks. I realized I was clanking around. With a humorless smirk, I typed back, Sure, sorry to disturb. Disturb. That's how it felt. Like I was intruding in my own house. Something was definitely going on. I spent the rest of the afternoon in a quiet, simmering state. Kelsey stayed locked in her upstairs office. Around dinner time, I tried to coax her out by ordering Thai food, her usual favorite, Pad CU, spicy level 2. She texted back, not hungry, so I ate alone, my mind racing. Scenes kept swirling. The black sedan, the half-finished midday wine, the older man at sushi. Her laptop snapping shut, I also recalled an offhand remark from Ashley, one of Kelsey's co-workers, who once told me a month ago that Trevor's employees have a special bond. It seemed innocuous at the time. Now it felt loaded with subtext. By 9 p.m., I decided to push for some normalcy. I knocked on Kelsey's office door. No response. Soft voices leaked through. She was definitely on a call. I pressed my ear to the wood. A man's voice. Maybe Trevor? He was saying something about meeting next weekend. Then Kelsey replied that she'd clear her schedule. My jaw clenched. Next weekend, she'd told me she was traveling to see her parents. Another lie. Eventually, the door opened and Kelsey jumped, seeing me in the hallway. "For God's sake, Raymond, I said I'm busy." She didn't sound apologetic. She sounded annoyed. "Look," I said, forcing calm. "I just wanted to see if you were done for the night, but do your thing. I'll watch a movie." Her expression softened for half a second, maybe a flicker of guilt, but then she shrugged, turning back inside. That night, I barely slept. She never came to bed. Sometime around 2 a.m., I heard the front door open and close. My pulse spiked, but I stayed still, listening. Soft footsteps downstairs, and then the door again like she just stepped out for a moment, but I was too mentally exhausted to investigate right then. When I woke up early the next morning, she was asleep in the guest room, the door locked from the inside. By the time morning sunlight filled the house, I decided enough was enough. But I didn't confront her. Directly, confrontation is worthless without evidence. In the military, we always said, "Get eyes on the target before you launch." So that was my plan. I would watch. I would gather clues. I would find out the truth. And if my suspicions were correct, God help whoever was messing with me. Let me clarify something. I'm not a hot-headed guy who leaps to conclusions. I've seen enough messy intelligence scenarios to know that people can be suspicious for all sorts of reasons. Stress, mental health, coincidences. But Kelsey's behavior? It felt like a tapestry of lies, each thread leading to a darker color. The next morning, Kelsey was gone by 7 a.m. She left me a curt note on the kitchen table. "Early meeting. Don't wait up." I almost laughed at the "don't wait up" part. That's the kind of thing you say if you won't be back until late. Not exactly normal for a typical day at the office unless you're planning after-hours drinks or something else. I drank coffee in the silent house, scanning local job listings for potential new leads in my consulting business. But my mind kept drifting to Kelsey's secrets. Finally, I decided to show up at Trevor & Associates around lunchtime unannounced, carrying 2 cups of coffee and a small pastry bag, as if I were a thoughtful husband dropping by. I wanted to gauge her reaction, maybe see her environment firsthand. Trevor & Associates had a polished lobby with marble floors and a minimalist design. I spotted the huge TNA logo gleaming behind the reception desk. 2 young women behind the desk eyed me politely. "Hi," I said, smiling. "I'm here to see Kelsey Cole. She's in marketing." The receptionist nodded. "Name, please?" "Raymond Cole. I'm her husband." She blinked. "Sure, let me call her extension." While I waited, I noticed a wall of employee achievements featuring big photographs and corporate success stories. Kelsey's face was there, beaming under the heading "Top Closer of the Quarter." Underneath, a quote from Trevor praising her dedication and willingness to go above and beyond. The subtle emphasis on above and beyond rubbed me the wrong way. The tone suggested something more than standard office excellence. A moment later, the receptionist told me I could head up to the 10th floor. "Someone will direct you to Ms. Cole's desk." I found Kelsey's cubicle deserted, so I wandered into a communal area. Then I heard voices from a glass-walled conference room. Trevor. He had a big presence, tall, commanding, slicked-back hair. He was leaning over Kelsey, arms braced on the table. "It was quite rewarding, wasn't it?" Trevor said with a slight grin, voice carrying through the open door. "I'm sure we'll finalize that contract soon. Francis was definitely impressed with your approach." Kelsey looked up from some papers. She offered a tight laugh. Yes, definitely. I think he's ready to sign. I stood just outside the doorway, the coffee cups in my hands trembling with tension. The conversation was too intimate in tone. Trevor glanced over, noticing me. His expression flickered from smug to startled. "Oh, hi. You must be Kelsey's husband?" Kelsey's face lost color. She quickly stood, smoothing her skirt. "Ray, you're back again. I told you I have a busy day." Trevor stepped forward, offering a handshake. "Trevor Hammond, pleasure to meet you. Kelsey's spoken about you." He had that over-friendly grin, the kind that never reaches the eyes. I shook his hand, given a firm squeeze. Raymond Cole. "Yeah, I just thought I'd drop off coffee for my wife." Kelsey forced a smile. "That's sweet, thanks." I handed her a cup. "Everything going okay here?" I asked, letting my gaze flick between them. Trevor gave a condescending chuckle. "We're just hammered with projects. I keep Kelsey pretty busy after hours, but I suppose she can handle it." His insinuation was not subtle. A couple of co-workers, young men with amused smirks, turned to watch us from the corner of the conference table. Kelsey's cheeks reddened. My heart hammered. I wanted to snap at him, but I swallowed that anger. I'd learned to keep a poker face, to let the enemy reveal more. "Well," I said, "as long as she's not too exhausted." Trevor flicked his eyebrows up. "Oh, she's a trooper. Right, Kelsey?" She forced another smile. "Yes, absolutely. I have to show Ray out. Be right back." She practically dragged me into the hallway. Once we were out of earshot, she glared at me. "What are you doing here?" I frowned, showing her the pastry bag. "I thought a surprise coffee and scone might be a nice gesture." Kelsey crossed her arms. "I'm under a lot of pressure, Ray. This isn't the time for drop-ins." My eyes narrowed. "Really? So last night was apparently quite rewarding with Trevor, from what I overheard. Care to elaborate?" She bristled. "We closed a significant deal, okay? That's it. Stop making it sound shady." Before I could press further, Ashley stumbled by, nearly colliding with us. She recognized me instantly and said in a flustered tone, "Raymond? Hi. I didn't realize you were stopping by. Kelsey's been working weekends with Trevor, you know, big accounts and such." I snapped my gaze to Kelsey. "Weekends with Trevor? Thought you were visiting your parents?" Kelsey's nostrils flared. Well, my parents canceled, so I ended up working." Ashley blanched at the obvious contradiction. "I should go. Sorry." She vanished into the break room. Kelsey turned back to me, voice tight. "Look, I didn't want to worry you, so I might have said I was going to my folks, because I know how you hate me working weekends." "That's not an excuse to lie," I said quietly. Her eyes darted around. "I have to get back to the meeting. Just let me handle my job. All right?" She walked off, leaving me in the hallway with the untouched pastry bag. My stomach churned with anger and confusion. That short exchange told me plenty. She was lying about her whereabouts. Trevor was openly insinuating a sexual element, and Ashley seemed guilty about letting me overhear too much. I left the building seething. This was more than a typical workplace dynamic. Something bigger was at play. That afternoon, I called Ivan from my car, explaining what had happened. He listened patiently, then said, "You want me to do a background check on Trevor? Look for any skeletons in his financial closet?" "Yes," I muttered. "And see if Kelsey's name pops up anywhere unusual, like new bank accounts, suspicious deposits." Ivan exhaled. "Ray, you sure? That's your wife?" I stared through the windshield, the coffee I'd bought still steaming in the cup holder. "I'm sure." Later that evening, Kelsey came home around 9 p.m. She looked rattled, her hair slightly disheveled. I was in the living room, reviewing notes for a potential security contract. She threw her purse down. "Long day?" I said, coolly. She pressed her lips together. "I told you it's busy. Don't start with me." I closed my laptop, stood. "I just have one question. Why are there repeated calls from Trevor on your phone at midnight, 2 a.m., sometimes 3 a.m.? What kind of client demands that kind of interaction?" Her eyes widened, then narrowed. "You looked at my call log?" "You changed your passcode, but I have ways," I said, refusing to mention the specifics. She huffed, pacing. "It's confidential. High-stakes deals. He's a workaholic, and I have to be responsive if I want to keep my position." "The corporate world is cutthroat, Ray." "Uh-huh." I studied her, noticing her wrinkled blouse. "What about that black sedan that's been dropping you off? That also part of your job?" Her face paled. "You're paranoid," she whispered. "Stay out of my work affairs, okay? Don't make this a bigger deal than it is." Then she stomped upstairs. I heard the shower running. That's when I decided to check her phone again, determined to crack her new passcode. If the old code was our anniversary date, maybe the new one was a variation. Sure enough, the second combination I tried worked. She was predictable in that sense. I went straight to the text messages. My heart pounded, reading Trevor's name. Trevor, 10:54 p.m. "Meet me tomorrow morning early. Don't bring your husband." Kelsey's reply, "I'll handle him. Stop worrying." I clenched my fist, fury swirling. She was basically mocking me to her boss. The last messages from Trevor had attachments, some receipts from a sockled marketing partner. The amounts were large, and in Kelsey's text thread, there was mention of a deposit labeled consulting. I scrolled more. The words, "I want you to keep Francis happy. Do whatever it takes," jumped out at me. Francis? That must be the older man Ivan saw her with at sushi. I captured screenshots, forwarded them to my own phone. My gut told me I'd need every shred of evidence eventually. By the time Kelsey came out of the shower, I'd put her phone back, screen locked as if untouched. I had no appetite for confrontation just yet. Let her think she was controlling the narrative. She passed me in the hallway, wearing a robe. "I'm going to bed." "Night," I said, voice tight. "Sleep well." She paused, maybe expecting me to press the issue. When I didn't, she eyed me suspiciously. Then she muttered a distracted, "Good night," heading to the guest room again. The next morning, while Kelsey was in the shower, I got a call from Ivan. "Ray, you were right. There's a suspicious deposit in your wife's name, 15 grand from a shell corporation linked to some marketing sponsor, labeled consulting." "That's weird, man." I exhaled slowly. "Thanks, Ivan. Keep digging." Kelsey emerged from the shower, towel on her head, eyebrows knitted. "Were you on my phone?" she demanded. I shook my head, feigning ignorance. "No, I was talking to a friend. That's all." She stared at me, tension crackling. "Fine. I'm leaving for work. Don't wait up. I might have late meetings." Same words again. "Don't wait up." "All right," I said, playing it calm. "See you whenever." But inside, I was thinking, I'm going to bury them both if they did this to me. I decided that the only way to handle Kelsey's lies and whoever else was involved was to shift into full investigative mode. She had no idea who she was messing with. My entire skill set revolves around exposing deception. I started with a low-level measure, planting a small audio recorder under the driver's seat of her car. It was something I'd used on a previous job the size of a flash drive with decent battery life. If Kelsey made or received calls while driving, I'd have them. I slipped it in one morning before she left for work. She was busy rummaging for her keys, cursing about her laptop. So I had an easy moment to kneel by the passenger side. In less than 10 seconds, it was done. That same day, Ashley called me out of the blue. She rarely had my number, so I was surprised. She sounded anxious. "Ray, I feel terrible," she began. "I didn't mean to imply anything to you about Kelsey's weekend work." I sighed. "Ashley, it's all right. I appreciate honesty. Just tell me what you know." There was a pause. "Kelsey's become Trevor's go-to for entertaining prospective investors or big clients. Like dinners, after parties, that sort of thing. She's apparently really good at making them comfortable, making them sign. I'm worried she's doing more than just conversation. If you get my drift." My chest tightened. "Why do you say that?" She swallowed audibly. "I overheard Trevor telling Kelsey that he owes her a bonuses for the night she spent with Francis, a bigwig investor. She'd been bragging to me about a fancy hotel bar and how Francis was easy to manipulate. I didn't think much of it at first, but now..." My temples pounded. "I see. Thank you, Ashley. Anything else?" "I just want you to know Kelsey used to be a friend to me, but I hate the direction she's gone. So be careful. Trevor's manipulative. He and Kelsey are making deals behind closed doors." "Understood," I said. "You did the right thing telling me." That was twist 3 for me. The direct admission that my wife was possibly playing the role of, well, an entertainer. Let's put it politely. To secure deals. That night, I retrieved the audio recorder after Kelsey went to sleep. Plugging it into my laptop, I listened. My blood ran cold. The recording from her commute that morning. Kelsey, talking via speakerphone, to Trevor. "Francis wants another meeting, I'm guessing to finalize details. I told him we can celebrate properly once the paperwork's signed." Right. "Yeah, I know, keep Ray in the dark for sure. He's suspicious enough already." Trevor's voice crackled. "Don't worry about him. We'll schedule a weekend trip. Just you and Francis, everything included. Once he invests, you'll get a nice bonus. And so will I." Kelsey laughed. "We need to be discreet, obviously." Trevor, "Of course. But you're good at discreet, Kelsey." My knuckles turned white around my laptop. Kelsey had laughed so casually about betraying me and using her body to land a corporate deal. I decided to share some of the intel with Ivan. He was appalled, but professional enough to keep it objective. "This is bigger than an affair. This might be corporate corruption or bribery, especially if that Francis guy is paying out hush money." I told him we needed more. The best approach was to let them bury themselves. Over the next few days, I followed Kelsey whenever I could. I installed a basic location tracker on her car's GPS. She started coming home later and later, sometimes reeking of perfume that didn't quite smell like hers, or she'd wear dresses I'd never seen before. One afternoon, I trailed her to an exclusive restaurant on the west side. Sure enough, she was with Trevor and that older man, Francis. They had a corner booth, leaning in close. The man placed a hand on Kelsey's shoulder. She didn't flinch. She smiled. I watched from a distance, heart pounding. Seeing it in the flesh was different from hearing rumors or audio. She looked at Trevor with a sly grin, like they were co-conspirators. Francis would say something and Kelsey would giggle, swirling her wine glass. The final blow came when I saw Trevor's hand graze her knee under the table. She didn't push him away. She just gave him a pointed look. They seemed to be discussing something that made Francis grin widely, then passed some documents across the table. When she got home that night, I waited in the dark, but she breezed past me, claiming exhaustion. "I'm going to bed. Don't even ask." She'd changed into a comfortable shirt and shorts, but her hair smelled of some man's cologne. I clenched my jaw in the living room, letting her go. Tomorrow would be soon enough to retrieve the fresh audio from her car. And so, at midnight, once she was asleep, I sneaked outside. The recorder was full of new content. Kelsey, earlier that day, in the car. "We have Francis's signature, right?" "Perfect. Let me guess. We'll celebrate with champagne in the suite." "Ha! Oh, I'm sure you can arrange that. Just keep Ray ignorant of where I'm heading. I'll say it's a business trip with Ashley. He never questions me if I toss in a coworker name. By the time he figures it out, we'll be rolling in commissions. Trevor. Exactly. I love how dedicated you are, Kelsey. Just do me one favor. Don't slip up and let him see any receipts. The last thing we need is your snooping husband rummaging around. Kelsey. Please. I'm better than that. I'll spin some story if he gets suspicious. My hands shook with fury. She was mocking me. They were mocking me. That's when I decided to compile everything into a neat digital folder labeled Kelsey Betrayal Evidence, a grim joke to myself. I had screenshots, audio logs, text messages, her suspicious bank deposit records. I might not know exactly how I'd use it yet, but I wanted the full set. The next morning, I noticed a new piece of expensive jewelry on Kelsey's wrist, a diamond bracelet. She claimed it was from the company as a reward for landing a major client. Right. Ashley reached out again, more frantic than ever. Ray, I'm worried Kelsey's too deep. Francis is known for blackmailing women if they don't keep giving him attention. There's talk that Trevor basically offers some employees as sweeteners for deals. I overheard him once say, Kelsey's my top closer. She'll do whatever it takes to secure the signature. That's not normal corporate talk. I thanked her. At least Ashley had a conscience. But it fueled my anger further. Kelsey was letting herself be used like a commodity. For money. For promotions. For Trevor's twisted advantage. That night, Kelsey came back around midnight in Trevor's black sedan. She tried to tiptoe upstairs, but I pretended to be asleep in the master bedroom. I watched from the window as he drove away, smug. At breakfast, she breezed in wearing a brand-new suit, face glowing with some false pride. I'm nailing this big partnership, she told me, sipping coffee. Francis is all but locked in. We'll have a huge commission soon. I forced a mild nod. Sounds big. She smirked. Yeah, you have no idea. Her tone dripped with condescension, as if she were proud of the game she was playing behind my back. Another day, another pile of evidence. Then Ashley called me again, voice trembling. I just got word Francis is known to record intimate encounters. He uses them to blackmail. Kelsey might be in danger if she tries to back out. That worried me. As furious as I was with Kelsey, I didn't want her physically harmed or extorted, but I also realized it gave me leverage. If Francis was a known blackmailer, Trevor and Kelsey had an Achilles heel. I decided to record a phone call of my own. I set up more advanced spy software on Kelsey's phone, nothing that could be traced easily, something I'd used back in my Air Force days for certain stateside ops. This would let me see her call logs in real time, capture her mic on demand. Before the next weekend, I installed it while she was in the shower. My heart pounded as I typed lines of code into her device. But it worked. Soon, I'd have everything at my fingertips. I felt a quiet, lethal calm. My wife was sleeping with her boss, possibly with an investor too, all for corporate gain. She was mocking me, calling me unambitious, ensuring I stayed clueless. But I wasn't clueless. I was collecting ammunition. This was the phase of the operation where I used to tell my Air Force subordinates, play it cool. Let the target think they're in control. That's exactly what I did with Kelsey. I kept acting like a somewhat clueless husband, giving her space, not pressing questions, not confronting her too aggressively. Let her weave that rope a little longer. Then a new development. Pricey jewelry started appearing in our bedroom. Necklaces, bracelets, a fancy watch, things she'd never owned. She claimed they were corporate bonuses from Trevor. I recognized one brand as Francis's trademark line, a brand I'd come across while scouring online records. Meanwhile, Ashley was feeling guilty for playing both sides. She confessed to Kelsey that she'd told me about their weekend sessions. According to Ashley, Kelsey brushed it off with a sneer. Ray can't do a damn thing. Trevor has my back. That stung. I wasn't just dealing with an affair or a little fling. This was a full-blown conspiracy to sell her loyalty and body to the highest bidder, with me as an inconvenient footnote. Twist 5. The biggest insult came one morning when Ashley texted me, paraphrasing Kelsey's words. She calls your job basic and says you're unambitious, and if you found out about Trevor, you'd just whine, not act. She actually laughed about it. I stared at the text. A rush of fury blurred my vision. That was the final piece. I knew then I was truly on my own path to destroy her entire setup, Trevor included. Then Ivan discovered an email from Trevor to Frances stating, "Kelsey's ready for the final arrangement. The contract is ours." It read like a blatant confirmation that Kelsey was being offered up for business deals. My wife treated as a corporate commodity, and from the calls we recorded, she was apparently complicit. She wanted that big commission, the big promotion. I told Ivan, we have enough evidence to blow this wide open, but I want to do it in a way that humiliates them on the grandest stage possible. Ivan hesitated. Ray, you sure you want to publicly shame Kelsey like that? Couldn't you handle it quietly with a divorce and show the evidence in court? I shook my head, even though he couldn't see me over the phone. No, she's risking serious harm. Frances is a predator, Trevor's a manipulator, and she's riding along for the money. I want them all to crash. That night, I confronted Kelsey lightly. I asked about the new jewelry and the big bonus. She sneered. If you must know, yes, I've got personal deposits from sponsors. It's called consulting. Don't act so naive, Ray. I'm doing what it takes to succeed. How about your wedding vows? I said icily. Are you succeeding at those? She gave a disdainful snort. You're never around. You're stuck in your little security bubble. I need more than that. I told you from day one I wanted a big life. Does a big life mean whoring yourself out to a boss who waves money around? I retorted quietly, heart thumping. Her eyes blazed. Don't you dare use that word. Trevor respects me, and so do our clients. I almost laughed at the irony. Instead, I let her see a flicker of my anger, then composed myself. I know more than you think, Kelsey. Don't be surprised if it all falls apart. She bristled, dropping a threat. If you sabotage my career, I'll ruin you. I'll take everything in a divorce. I smirked, a cold grin. Try it. She stormed out, presumably going to stay with Ashley. I suspected she was meeting Trevor instead. Good. Let them gather for their next scheme. Next morning, I heard Kelsey's phone ring from the hallway. Trevor's voice soared over the speaker. She was still in bed, so I eavesdropped. Trevor. Raymond can't touch us, babe. I have the board in my pocket. Keep playing along with Frances, and the payoff is huge. Kelsey. I know, but Ray's not an idiot. He's suspicious. He's going to figure everything out soon. Trevor. Then we'll crush him. Or blame it on him. Don't worry, I might have another closer if you decide to bail. But I hope you won't. You're too valuable. I pressed record on my phone as it was happening. Perfect. That day, Ivan uncovered more NDAs from Frances. Multiple women had alleged personal entertainment for him. Hush money paid out. This was beyond a simple extramarital affair. It was a potential corporate sex-for-contracts scandal. If the press got hold of it, Trevor and Associates would implode. Kelsey was fully aware, but she was addicted to the money and status. She had sold her soul, and it sickened me. By now, I'd quietly decided on the big confrontation. Trevor and Associates was hosting a major marketing gala in 2 days, a big unveiling of their innovative approach, with Frances as the star investor. I planned to attend unannounced, gather final evidence, and blow it up publicly. That evening, I sat in my home office, listening to the recorded calls. My laptop displayed multiple tabs of data. Kelsey's name, Francis's hush money, Trevor's brags about lining up female staff. The deeper I dug, the more revolted I felt. She came home late again, ignoring me. The next morning, she casually mentioned, "We have a big marketing event in 2 days. Don't wait up, I'll be busy." I just nodded, hiding my smirk. She had no idea I'd already RSVP'd through a contact in the events department, forging a little Plusone pass for myself. The final 48 hours before the gala felt like a slow burn. Kelsey was on the phone non-stop, probably finalizing deals or hooking up details for Francis's arrival. I pretended to watch TV. In my head, I was orchestrating my own plan. And when she left that final morning with Trevor's sedan waiting outside, I whispered to myself, "I'm done playing nice." I remember standing in my living room, eyes locked on the overhead light fixture, feeling like the house itself was conspiring to keep secrets. Each day, I heard Kelsey slip out the door or return after midnight, as if our marriage had become a revolving door for her questionable business dealings. The upcoming marketing gala was 2 days away, but I could sense the tension building like a rising tide. I had quietly secured an unofficial RSVP to the event. Meanwhile, Kelsey thought I'd be nowhere in sight. Thursday morning, 2 days prior to the gala, I was sipping coffee, staring at the local news on TV without really absorbing it, when my phone rang. Caller ID read Office Unknown, but I answered anyway. Voice on the line. "Is this Mr. Raymond Cole?" I recognized a corporate tone. "Yes, speaking." Voice. "Hello, sir. This is Dominic Reyes. I'm part of the Trevor and Associates Marketing Board. I just wanted to confirm you received our invitation to Saturday's event." I nearly choked on my coffee. "Invitation?" Dominic. "Yes, there was an internal note that you might attend in Kelsey Cole's stead if she was double-booked with other tasks. We want to ensure we have your details correct. Could you confirm your email address?" I had a minor flash of suspicion. Why would the board assume I'd attend? Possibly an administrative slip, or maybe someone behind the scenes like Ashley slipped my name in. Sure," I said, rattling off a spare email I used for my security consultancy. Dominic. "Excellent. We look forward to having you. This gala is quite important for our new partnership. Ms. Cole has been integral to its success. Thank you and have a good day." He hung up before I could ask more. Strange, but helpful. They'd effectively confirmed my presence. Now I wouldn't even have to sneak in. Later that afternoon, I strolled into the kitchen. Kelsey was there, rummaging through her purse, cursing softly. She had her phone on speaker with Ashley. Ashley's voice. "You left the Glendale files on my desk. I'll bring them over." Kelsey. "No, I'll get them. I'm heading in soon anyway." She glanced up and saw me eavesdropping. Her expression hardened. "Ray, do you need something?" I shrugged. "Just lunch." She returned to the call. "Okay, Ashley, I'll meet you in an hour." Then she hung up, turning to me. Kelsey, annoyed. "I'll be gone late again. If that's a problem, I don't care." I let the insult wash over me. "Actually, I got a call from someone named Dominic at your company confirming my attendance at Saturday's gala." She stiffened, eyes flashing. "That's not correct. There must be a mix-up." I forced a mild shrug. "He seemed certain. I gave him my info. Guess I'll be seeing you there." Kelsey's lips parted. "Ray, it's a closed event. Extremely exclusive. It's not for outsiders to just barge in." That final phrase said it all. She viewed me as an outsider to her new corporate world. I leaned in, voice icy. "Look, dear wife, I was personally invited by the board. I don't think I'll skip it." She scowled. "Fine. Suit yourself. Don't embarrass me." Don't embarrass her? The gall. I gave a humorless laugh. "Wouldn't dream of it." She left in a huff, slamming the front door. As the echo subsided, I realized how numb I'd grown to her theatrics. The heartbreak was overshadowed by the strategic need for payback. Ivan dropped by an hour later carrying a battered briefcase. He flopped onto my couch, rummaging for his laptop. Got new intel from the inside. A staffer, maybe one of the receptionists, emailed me. "Let's hear it," Ivan typed quickly. "Trevor's planning a big thank you speech at the gala, publicly praising Kelsey's role in finalizing Francis's investment. He might even mention new expansions, naming her as a candidate for senior VP. My jaw set. So it's going to be her crowning moment. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, she's sleeping with Trevor and hooking up with Francis. Perfect. Ivan exhaled. "You sure you want to do this public meltdown approach? Another route is feeding the story to the press. They'd break it wide open. No need for you to be present." I rubbed my temples. Tempting. But I want them to see my face when their empire crumbles. I want Kelsey to realize she messed with the wrong man. Ivan nodded, though he looked uneasy. "Then let's finalize the plan." We spent the next 2 hours going over the sequence. Step 1. I'd arrive in plain sight, greet Kelsey casually. Step 2. Surreptitiously connect with the AV crew. I had a contact, a friend named Carter, who'd handle the technical side if I gave him the right files. Step 3. At the height of Trevor's speech, we'd inject the incriminating audio into the loudspeakers, possibly also display certain screenshots on the big screen. Step 4. Let the chaos unfold, gather final statements. If the authorities got wind, all the better. Yvonne parted with a handshake. "I'll be behind the scenes. If you need extra backup, I'm your guy. Good luck, Ray." That night, I wandered the house, noticing bits of Kelsey's presence like echoes of a life we once shared. Family photos, her favorite scented candles, the laugh we used to share on lazy Sundays, all overshadowed now by betrayal. She came home after midnight, stinking of some cologne that definitely wasn't mine. She marched upstairs without a word. My pulse hammered with anger, but I forced myself not to blow the plan prematurely. Just one more day. Friday came around. Kelsey was gone by 6 a.m., presumably finalizing last details for the event. The gala was tomorrow. A heavy hush settled on me as I checked my phone for updates. Ashley texted me, "Trevor expects Francis to arrive at 7 p.m. Kelsey is setting up the VIP lounge. Good luck." Luck. Not sure I needed luck as much as raw determination. Around noon, I got a phone call from an unknown number again. This time it was a deeper voice. "Mr. Cole? This is Todd Lindstrom from the local news station. We understand you might have information about unethical practices at Trevor and Associates." I paused, glancing around. "Where'd you hear that?" He coughed politely. "A source. Possibly someone from within the company. They hinted you have evidence that certain personal arrangements were made to secure business deals." I recognized an opportunity. "I do. But I'm releasing it tomorrow night at the gala. If you want a scoop, be there." Todd sounded intrigued. "We'd need an official invite or we'll be stuck outside." I shrugged, forgetting he couldn't see me. "I'll see if I can put you on a guest list. If not, at least be near the venue. This story's about to erupt." He agreed and hung up, clearly excited. That was perfect. I wanted the story to break wide. By evening, Kelsey texted me curtly, "Staying at a hotel tonight with Trevor's team for early morning prep. Don't worry about me." I typed back, "Sure. Have fun." Inside, my gut churned. She was likely with Trevor, but I'd keep calm just a little longer. The final act was near. I double-checked my stash, all incriminating audio, text logs, photos, and finances, neatly stored on a flash drive, also stored in multiple secure cloud backups. Let them try to deny it. Tomorrow was the day I'd watch them go down. Saturday arrived cloaked in the type of hush that precedes a storm. I woke early, drank coffee on the porch, and felt a strange calm. My plan was set. My suit was laid out, phone loaded with backups. Everything was in motion. At noon, I got a text from Carter, my friend who worked in event production. "Ray, I'm at the hotel. We can link your files to the AV board anytime after 5 p.m. Let me know." I replied with a thumbs-up, heart thudding. The gala started at 7 p.m. The big speech is probably around 8 or 8:30. Perfect. Around 2 p.m., I hopped in my car and drove near the venue, a swanky downtown hotel with towering glass walls. The place exuded wealth. Trevor and associates certainly liked to show off. I parked a few blocks away, called Ivan. "Status?" Ivan. "Inside. I've got a pass from Ashley. She's freaking out, but she'll keep Trevor off your trail. Francis is set to arrive around 7:15. Kelsey's been here since 10 a.m., apparently overseeing every detail." The mention of her name pricked my chest. "Any sign of trouble?" Ivan. "No, but Trevor's in a smug mood. He's bragging to some staff about how this is going to catapult them to the next level of marketing dominance. Sickening." "Okay," I said softly. We moved forward. I took a quick walk around the block to steady my nerves. My mind drifted to the first time I'd met Kelsey at a friend's barbecue. She'd been bright, funny, full of ambition. I never would have guessed that same ambition would lead her to trade everything for a corporate rung on the ladder, but I forced those memories aside, reminding myself of her words. Ray can't do a damn thing. She'd made her bed. At 4 p.m., I connected with Carter at the hotel's side entrance, slipping inside with minimal fuss. I had on a nondescript jacket, but soon I'd change into a suit. Carter led me through a service corridor to the AV control room. He was a tall, wiry guy with a quick grin. "Man, your request is unusual, but if you vouch that, it's legit." "I'll do it," he said. I handed him the flash drive. "These audio files go on cue whenever I give the signal. I also have a short video montage of text screenshots. That's in the expose video folder." Carter looked concerned. "This is going to blow up the whole event, right?" "Yes," I admitted. "And that's the point. Just be sure it's unstoppable once it starts." He nodded, hooking it to the console. "Got it. The system can't be overridden easily, but if Trevor's people rush us, we might lose the feed." I patted his shoulder. "Do your best. We only need a minute or two for the crowd to realize what's happening." Carter exhaled. "Okay. Good luck, Ray. I hope you know what you're doing." I retreated to the men's restroom, changed into my tailored navy blue suit. Checking myself in the mirror, I felt a grim sense of purpose. Then I texted the local news contact, Todd Lindstrom. "Now's your chance. Come to the main hotel lobby by 7. You'll witness something big." He replied almost instantly. "Understood. We'll be there with a camera crew, might have to remain outside unless we can slip in." I typed back, "That's fine. Just be ready." By 6 p.m., I was mingling near the ballroom area, blending in with the staff, setting up final decorations. Waiters bustled with trays. The stage was set with a large screen behind the podium. Flower arrangements, champagne stations, pure corporate glitz. I spotted Ashley by a tall display of promotional posters. She wore a simple black dress, hair pinned up. She looked tense but gave me a quick nod. "Ray," she whispered, stepping aside, "you sure about this?" "Yes," I said. "Don't worry, you'll be fine." She swallowed. Trevor's so smug right now, bragging about how Francis is going to pump millions into the company. Kelsey's practically glowing, telling everyone she's about to become senior VP. They've prepared a big slideshow featuring her achievements. I let out a humorless chuckle. Perfect stage for the truth, then. Ashley glanced around. "Be careful. I heard Trevor mention extra security staff, probably anticipating a high-profile night. They might try to shut you down if you cause a scene. I shrugged. Let them try. Carter's controlling the AV feed, and we have the press outside. Ashley gave me a small, brave smile. I'm sorry about all this. If I hadn't kept quiet earlier, maybe... I shook my head gently. You did the best you could. Now it's out of our hands. People started arriving around 6:30, informal attire investors, board members, and many from the firm. I drifted into the background. My vantage point was near a column by the side entrance to the ballroom, where I could see the stage. At exactly 6:55, Trevor appeared, decked in a sleek black suit, that trademark smug grin plastered on his face. Kelsey was on his arm, wearing a midnight blue cocktail dress that hugged her figure. My gut twisted at the sight of them together. I recognized the diamond bracelet I'd seen before. Definitely not something I'd given her. She scanned the room with bright, confident eyes, as if she owned the place. I noticed the moment she spotted me. Her expression faltered for a second, shock, maybe fear. Then she quickly masked it, turning to Trevor and whispering something. He gave me a cursory glance, then snickered, probably telling her not to worry. I stayed calm, sipping water from a champagne flute to maintain the look of a casual guest. If only Kelsey knew the storm about to break. By 7:15, the main show was about to commence. People sat at round tables draped in white linen. I took a seat at an empty corner table, alone, scanning my phone for a text from Carter. Finally, at 7:20, it buzzed. All set. Just say the word. I texted back, wait until Trevor's speech hits about 5 minutes in. Carter, copy that. At 7:25, Francis arrived. A tall man in his mid-50s, silver hair, aristocratic posture, wearing a tailored gray suit. He strolled in with a self-satisfied air, shaking hands with board members. Kelsey hurried over, greeting him with a lingering handshake. They exchanged a look that churned my stomach. Trevor joined them, all three smiling for a professional photographer. The trifecta of corporate corruption. I took pictures from a distance with my phone, discreetly capturing their smug circle. The event's MC, a middle-aged woman named Sylvia, took the stage around 7:40. She welcomed everyone, said some boilerplate remarks about innovation, synergy, bright future. Then she introduced Trevor as the star of the evening. Trevor strutted up to the podium, applause echoing. The large screen behind him displayed the Trevor and Associates logo with "Welcome Francis" in big letters. Trevor cleared his throat, smiling wide. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us tonight. We're thrilled to celebrate a monumental partnership with a man of great vision, Mr. Francis Noble. Another round of applause. Kelsey, seated near the front, beamed. Trevor continued. This firm has always sought bold approaches, and no one embodies that better than our own Kelsey Cole. Kelsey, stand up. Let everyone see you. She rose, laughing shyly like a demure starlet. The audience clapped. My jaw tightened. Trevor kept praising Francis and Kelsey. Then, in a flourish, he said, "We believe in rewarding excellence. Kelsey's contributions have been extraordinary. In fact, it's my pleasure to announce that once this partnership is finalized, she'll be promoted to Senior Vice President of Marketing." A wave of cheers. Kelsey clasped her hands over her mouth in mock surprise. Her eyes shone with victory. I felt nauseated. Enough was enough. Trevor went on. And folks, that's not all. With Francis's backing, we're expanding globally. That was my cue. I texted Carter. Now. A second later, the overhead speakers crackled. Trevor paused, confused. He tapped the mic, but it squealed. Then a recorded voice boomed across the ballroom. Trevor, recording. "Keep Ray ignorant? I have the board in my pocket. Kelsey's my top closer. She'll do whatever it takes. Francis wants her at the suite tonight." Gasps rippled through the audience. Trevor's eyes widened in shock. He spun around, barking at someone off stage. "Shut that off!" But the audio continued. Kelsey, recording. "I'll handle him. He's a nobody. As long as I get that promotion, I don't care." Stunned silence. The screen behind Trevor suddenly flickered, showing text message screenshots. Kelsey to Trevor. "Once Francis invests, I want my cut. Ray won't suspect a thing." Kelsey's face drained of color. She shot up from her seat, eyes darting around. "Turn that off! This is sabotage!" The audience erupted into horrified whispers. Some people pulled out phones to record. A few recognized the voices or words. Francis stood looking furious, face reddening. Trevor lunged toward the stage's AV cables, but staffers blocked him. The feed continued. Trevor, recording. "She's better in bed than our last closer. She's unstoppable." Disgusted gasps, shrieks. Kelsey sank down, covering her face. People whipped out cameras. I rose from my seat, stepping toward the stage with measured calm. The entire ballroom was in chaos. Board members demanded an explanation. Trevor turned, rage in his eyes, and spotted me. "You bastard!" He spat into the mic, forgetting it was still live. "I'll kill you!" Security tried to restrain him. Meanwhile, the audio repeated, "Kelsey," recording. "Francis loves the extra perks. If I have to sleep with him once more, so be it. Money's worth it." Kelsey let out a strangled cry, tears flooding her cheeks. The entire crowd saw her meltdown in real time. Francis, seething, tried to slip out the side, but employees recognized him. "That's the investor, right? He was in on this?" Furious glares pinned him. A few board members circled him, demanding answers. Trevor broke free from a guard lunging toward me. I sidestepped, letting him trip forward. He snarled, "I'll sue you for defamation," I responded in a low, unshaken voice. "Truth is an absolute defense. This is all real, Trevor." He swung a wild fist, but security tackled him. The mic dropped with a screech. The overhead projection froze on a damning text chain. Kelsey, keep Ray clueless. Trevor, he's just a grunt anyway. Kelsey tried to stammer an explanation to the gawking crowd. I was forced. She couldn't form a coherent defense. People jeered or shook their heads, disgusted. The entire event was turning into a carnival of shame. A moment later, hotel security and a couple of local cops, apparently called by concerned attendees, poured into the ballroom. They demanded calm. Cameras flashed from multiple directions. I noticed Todd Lindstrom from the local news, filming the fiasco. Perfect. The meltdown lasted maybe 2 or 3 minutes, but it felt like hours. Trevor was pinned by security guards. Kelsey cowered near a table. Francis cornered by outraged board members. Ashley lurked behind a pillar, horror etched on her face, but also relief. She gave me a tiny nod. I turned away from the stage, stepping out of the central chaos. My chest pounded, but a wave of grim satisfaction swept through me. The plan had worked. They were done. A policeman approached me. "Sir, did you orchestrate this?" I gave a half nod. "I have extensive evidence that these individuals have engaged in unethical, potentially illegal activities. If you need me, I'll share everything." "I'm not running." The policeman looked around at the screaming fiasco and sighed. "All right. Let's get statements." Meanwhile, half the crowd was backing away, frantic to leave. The other half was transfixed by the sensational meltdown. Board directors yelled at Trevor about ruining the company's reputation. Francis was cursing everyone in sight, shouting that he'd never invest a dime now. Kelsey crouched on the floor, tears streaming, repeating, "No, no, no." I moved through the throng, ignoring the glares and stares until I reached Kelsey. She looked up at me with tear-streaked cheeks. "Ray, oh God, how could you?" I stooped, voice soft but cold. You forced my hand. You lied. You cheated. You sold yourself. All for money. Did you really think I'd let that go? She just sobbed. You ruined my life. I didn't ruin it, I corrected. You did. Then I stood, letting her bury her face in her hands. The policeman reappeared, leading me aside to a quieter corner. I gave him a quick summary. My wife had an affair with her boss, who orchestrated sexual deals to land an investor, Francis. I had audio recordings and documentation. The policeman frowned deeply, obviously not sure how to handle the corporate angle, but he took notes. Within half an hour, the chaos began to subside. People trickled out. The once glorious Gala was a shattered fiasco. Trevor was escorted away by cops for questioning, ranting about illegal sabotage. Francis tried to vanish, but was detained for a statement. The local press cornered Kelsey, bombarding her with humiliating questions. I quietly slipped out, meeting Ivan in the corridor. He patted my shoulder. Holy hell, that was nuclear. You okay? I exhaled. Yeah. Feels surreal, but I'm okay. Outside, a cluster of onlookers had gathered. Todd from the news spotted me and ran up, camera in tow. Mr. Cole, do you have a comment about tonight's revelations? I considered my words carefully. Truth exposed itself. That's all I'll say. He pressed. Were you behind the audio leaks? Did you intend to bring down Trevor and Associates? I gave a tight smile. I only intended to bring out the truth. Whether it brings them down is up to them. With that, I left. My heart hammered, but the sense of closure was overwhelming. Ivan hustled after me to my car. Ray, that's done, they're finished. But are you sure you're safe from any legal blowback? I shrugged. I have backups of everything, and I can prove wrongdoing. If they want a legal fight, I'll welcome it. They won't get far. Ivan nodded. Then it's over. Good job. We parted ways, the city lights shimmering overhead. I drove home with the image of Kelsey's tear-streaked face burned into my mind, feeling no remorse, only the quiet thrill of victory. The aftermath of the gala hit like an earthquake. By Sunday morning, local news outlets were buzzing with headlines. Trevor and Associates Gala erupts in scandal. CEO accused of sexual deal-making. Marketing star Kelsey Cole implicated in affair bribery plot? High-profile investor flees as Expos disrupts corporate event. I woke up that day feeling oddly calm, sipping coffee while reading these headlines on my phone. My vengeance had gone mainstream. Kelsey hadn't come home, nor had she texted or called. I imagined she was holed up somewhere, dealing with the wreckage. Around noon, I got a call from an unknown number. Turned out to be a corporate lawyer representing Trevor and Associates, wanting my statement. I told him to speak to my counsel. I wasn't about to hand them anything on a silver platter. Then I called Jeff Cranston, a divorce attorney recommended by a friend. He agreed to meet me Monday morning. Perfect. I decided to drive downtown to see Ivan, who was still sifting through media coverage. We met at a cafe near his office. He had a laptop open, scanning social media. Ray, you're all over the trending topics in the city. They're calling you the scorned husband who pulled the ultimate revenge. People are eating it up. I sipped my iced tea, smiling wryly. That's more attention than I wanted, but so be it. He flicked to another tab showing a short video clip. It was from a phone camera in the gala's audience. Trevor's meltdown was captured in full. Over 500,000 views already. Ivan raised an eyebrow. You're the talk of the town, man. So what's your next step? I rubbed my chin. I meet with a divorce attorney tomorrow. After that, I plan to see how deep Trevor's legal troubles go. If Kelsey tries to fight for assets, I'll bury her with the evidence of her affair and unethical actions. Ivan nodded, sliding his laptop aside. Speaking of Kelsey, You expecting her to come crawling back? I shrugged. She's radio silent so far. She might be huddling with her own lawyer. Maybe she's with Trevor, though I suspect he's done with her now that she's toxic. Ivan grimaced. Wouldn't be surprising. He never seemed like the loyal type. My phone buzzed. A text from an unfamiliar number. Ray, it's Ashley. Kelsey is at my place crying nonstop. She's borderline hysterical. She says you ruined her career, her future. She's threatening to drag you into court for sabotage. She also begs you to talk to her. I sighed, showing the message to Ivan. As expected. She's blaming me, not herself. Ivan shook his head. Typical. She's the cause of her own downfall. I typed a curt reply to Ashley. I have nothing to say to her right now. She made her bed. After finishing our drinks, I parted ways with Ivan, feeling a swirl of conflicting emotions. Yes, I was satisfied with the takedown, but a small part of me recalled the times Kelsey and I once truly loved each other. That was before greed, lust, and ambition derailed her. Sunday evening, I decided to reorganize the house. I packed up some of Kelsey's belongings, boxing them in the garage. If she wanted them, she could ask. The house felt emptier, but also freer, like a stale energy had been cleared. At around 9 p.m., my phone rang. Ashley again. I hesitated, then answered. She sounded frantic. Ray, Kelsey's threatening to do something drastic if you don't speak to her. She feels she has nowhere to go. I exhaled. That's not my concern anymore, Ashley. She chose this path. Ashley pleaded. I know, but I don't want her hurting herself. She's broken, Ray. Maybe just talk to her, at least so she doesn't do anything stupid. I wrestled with annoyance and a shred of sympathy. All right, put her on. A moment later, I heard Kelsey's shaky breathing. Ray? God, I can't believe you did this to me. I forced composure. I didn't do it to you, Kelsey. I exposed the truth. You did it to yourself. She sobbed. I lost everything. Trevor suspended. The board turned on me. Francis withdrew all his funds. My career is done. I'm jobless. People are calling me a whore. I was silent for a beat. What did you expect? You slept with Trevor, sold yourself to Francis. People talk. Kelsey whispered, I only did it because I needed more. You were never around, always on your security gigs. I felt alone. And Trevor, he gave me an opportunity. I clenched my fist. An opportunity to humiliate me, to degrade yourself, all for money? Don't make excuses. You had a choice. She sniffled. You ruined me. Are you happy? I sighed. I'm not happy about any of this. But it was necessary. You need to face consequences. I'm filing for divorce, Kelsey. She let out a strangled whimper. Don't do this. I can fix it. I swear I'll find a way to fix everything. Let's talk in person. My voice turned cold. Nothing to fix. You broke our vows. And if you fight me in divorce court, I'll bury you with evidence. So, do us both a favor. Don't fight me. Sign an uncontested divorce. Accept your losses. Kelsey was quiet for a long moment, only ragged breathing. I have nowhere to go. Ashley can't keep me forever. My family's disowned me after seeing the news. That's not my problem, I said softly. She sobbed again, but I felt no urge to comfort her. I ended the call. Leaning back on the couch, I stared at the ceiling for a good 10 minutes. My mind churned with memories, her laughter, her jokes, the times we cooked dinner together, all overshadowed now by her betrayal. This was the new normal. Cut her out, preserve my dignity. Monday came with a crisp sunrise. I donned a clean suit, drove downtown, and walked into the law offices of Jeff Cranston. He greeted me with a firm handshake. Raymond, I've seen the footage from that Gala fiasco. Quite a bombshell. I nodded. I want the harshest divorce possible under the law. Adultery, moral turpitude, anything we can use. Jeff guided me into his office, flipping open a notebook. You have proof? More than enough texts, audio, finances. She was basically prostituting herself for business deals. Jeff inhaled. Then we'll craft the divorce complaint citing infidelity and potential illicit activity. We can argue for an unequal split in your favor, especially since you said you own the house. She can't claim half if she's proven at fault. Exactly, I said. I also want a no-contact clause if possible. Jeff nodded. We'll push for that. Are you seeking alimony from her? I gave a grim smirk. She doesn't have money left. Francis withdrew. Trevor's presumably bankrupt. I just want her out of my life. We spent 2 hours drafting paperwork. Jeff promised to file it by the end of the day. By midweek, Kelsey would be served, forced to respond or risk default. As I left Jeff's office, I felt a measure of relief. The final nail in the coffin of our marriage was hammered in. Over the next few days, the press coverage continued to swirl. Trevor and Associates was in meltdown mode. The board publicly distanced themselves from Trevor, announcing an internal investigation. Rumors circulated that the entire firm might fold or rebrand. Francis quietly returned to Europe, leaving a swirl of speculation that he might face legal trouble for blackmail or exploitation. Meanwhile, local tabloids gossiped about the wife who conspired with her boss, featuring photos of Kelsey's meltdown at the Gala. Ashley texted me sporadically, "Kelsey's moving out soon," or "She's trying to borrow money from old friends nobody's helping." I read these updates with a mixture of pity and satisfaction. She was paying the price for her cruelty and greed. One evening, I got a knock on my door. I opened it to find Kelsey herself, eyes puffy, hair disheveled, wearing a wrinkled jacket. She looked haunted. "Ray, can we talk, please?" she asked in a trembling voice. I stared at her, stomach lurching, but I stepped aside. "Briefly." She entered, glancing around the living room she once called home. "You packed my stuff?" she said, spotting boxes. I nodded. "Yes." She sank onto the couch, hugging herself. "I just came from a disastrous meeting with a recruiter. Nobody will hire me, Ray. My reputation's trashed. I've had to crash at Ashley's, but she's tired of me. I'm desperate." I folded my arms, leaning against the wall. "What do you want from me? Sympathy?" Her lips trembled. "I know you're divorcing me, but can't we settle privately? If you let me keep some portion of the house or give me some money, I could start fresh somewhere else." A wry laugh escaped me. "So you come here after cheating, humiliating me, and ask for a handout?" Kelsey stammered. I'm sorry. I was stupid. You know me, Ray, I was always ambitious. But I never meant to hurt you. Trevor manipulated me." I fixed her with a cold stare. "He manipulated you? Based on the recordings, you were a very willing participant." Tears welled again. "I made mistakes, I know. But now, I'm at rock bottom. Do you still have any shred of feeling for me? Enough to help me just a little?" My heart hammered with conflicting emotions. The old me might have caved, might have tried to salvage something. But that man was gone. I reached for the divorce papers on the coffee table. "Sign these. It's a standard fault-based divorce. I keep the house, my assets. You walk away with nothing but whatever personal items are in these boxes. That's it." Her eyes flicked over the document, dread filling her features. "So you're leaving me with nothing?" I exhaled slowly. "You left me with nothing first, Kelsey. All the lies. This is what remains." She stared at the pen I offered, tears slipping down her cheeks. "If I sign, I'll be homeless, broke. Is that what you want?" I didn't answer directly. "I want my life back. You made your bed with Trevor and Francis. Don't come crying to me now." For a moment, she looked like she might lash out. But then her shoulders sagged in defeat. She scribbled her signature on each marked page. There. Happy? A pang of finality rippled through me. Goodbye, Kelsey. Gather your boxes, and I guess I wish you luck. She sniffled, dropping the pen, then stood. For a second, it looked like she might hug me, but I stepped back. She let out a shaky breath, picking up one box. On her way out, she paused at the threshold. Ray, if we'd had more time together, if you hadn't traveled so much— Don't, I said, voice hollow. It's done. She gave a tiny nod, tears glistening, then trudged out. After she left, I locked the door, heart pounding. I went to the sink, splashed water on my face. The severing of a toxic bond can feel both liberating and devastating in its own twisted way. That night I texted my attorney, Jeff, letting him know Kelsey signed. He was pleased, saying it streamlined the process. I poured myself a stiff drink, gazed at the quiet living room, and let out a long, ragged exhale. It was over. The illusions, the deceptions, the marriage. All that remained was the aftermath. The next few weeks passed in a surreal haze of legal motions, media speculation, and shifting alliances. Trevor and Associates was teetering on the brink of dissolution, weighed down by multiple internal investigations and threatened lawsuits from disgruntled clients. Trevor himself was rumored to be facing possible criminal charges for fraud or sexual exploitation, though no official indictment had yet been announced. Meanwhile, the entire local business community treated the fiasco like a cautionary tale. I did my part by handing over documentation to the law enforcement agencies that reached out. They found it compelling enough to expand their inquiries into Trevor's personal finances and Francis's hush money trail. Kelsey, as far as I heard, was living at a cheap motel after Ashley finally told her to leave. One day, I got a call from Ashley who said, Kelsey's been served with a cease and desist from the new T&A management to keep her away from the building. She's persona non grata. I responded with a neutral, That's unfortunate for her. Ashley sighed. I know she messed up, but sometimes I feel bad. She's all alone. I said nothing, unwilling to reignite the moral debate. My own life was slowly improving. Freed from the tension, I poured energy into my security consultancy, picking up new clients. Ironically, the scandal had showcased my ability to investigate thoroughly, so a few potential hires saw me as a go-to fixer. I also found new routines, morning runs by the lake, occasional dinners with friends, small things that made me feel alive again. The house was calmer. I replaced old photos of me and Kelsey with generic artwork. The emptiness felt better than constant betrayal. One day, Ivan swung by with a grin. Ray, you'll want to hear this. He flipped open a file. Trevor was officially arrested this morning on charges of financial misconduct, specifically forging certain documents to funnel money from Francis's investments into personal accounts. I blinked. They actually pinned him? Ivan nodded. Yep, he's out on bail, but the case looks strong. I exhaled, satisfaction blossoming. Good. He deserves a cell after what he orchestrated. That left me wondering about Francis. Turned out he'd fled the country to avoid subpoenas, but the rumor was some international agencies might track him. Kelsey was left in the middle. No money, no career, no powerful man to shield her. I'd like to say I felt pity. Maybe a sliver. But mostly, I felt closure. Days turned into weeks. I got a final notice from Jeff that the divorce was nearing completion. Kelsey had signed off on everything. The judge would finalize it soon, awarding me the house, my accounts, and everything else. She'd get her personal items. No alimony. One evening, I felt an odd pang in my chest, a swirl of memory. Kelsey's bright smile on our wedding day. Was that all a lie? I shook it off. People change. Or maybe they reveal who they truly are under pressure. Then, about a month after the Gala fiasco, I was at home sorting some papers when I got a phone call from a journalist named Miriam Clark, who introduced herself as an investigative reporter. She wanted to do an in-depth piece on corporate exploitation. She asked if I'd go on record about how I exposed Trevor's scheme. I hesitated, but ultimately agreed. Sure, if it helps others avoid similar manipulations. Miriam was respectful, carefully interviewing me about the steps I took, the evidence I gathered, Kelsey's role, Trevor's pimping strategy. We spoke for over an hour. At the end, she said, "This story could help people realize the toxic side of corporate ambition." Thank you, Raymond. I hung up feeling a quiet sense of purpose. Maybe in a twisted way, my ordeal could serve as a cautionary tale. Another morning, Ashley visited me unannounced. She looked drawn, her face marked with stress. She explained that she'd left Trevor and Associates, transferring to a smaller marketing firm. She'd had enough drama. She also delivered a small box. "Kelsey asked me to drop this off for you. Said it's some personal letters she found. Stuff you might want from your early relationship." I eyed the box. "Thanks. You look tired, Ashley. Hope you're coping." Ashley shrugged, watery smile. The meltdown was draining. "I feel sorry for Kelsey, but she brought this upon herself." We parted on polite terms. Later, I opened that box. Inside were a few old letters back when Kelsey and I were dating. A flood of nostalgia hit me. Her loopy handwriting, sweet lines about how proud she was of my Air Force service. She wrote about wanting to build a future with me, about how unstoppable we'd be together. I stared at those pages, heart tight. So much had changed. She had turned into a different person, or maybe revealed who she was all along. The letters ended up in a drawer, a faint reminder that love can curdle into betrayal if you let greed overshadow decency. Another phone call came Jeff. "Ray, the divorce hearing is scheduled for next Thursday. Since Kelsey's not contesting, it should be straightforward. You can finalize the dissolution and walk away with your assets." I nodded into the phone. "Sounds good. Let's do it." Jeff paused. "She might appear in court to make a statement. Just be prepared." I simply said, "I am." Court day arrived. I wore a neat charcoal suit heading to the small family courtroom. Kelsey was already there, looking frail. She wore a modest blouse, hair undone, no fancy jewelry. The diamond bracelet was presumably pawned or sold. She eyed me sadly as I took a seat. The hearing was quick. The judge asked if both parties agreed to the settlement. Kelsey nodded, her voice barely audible. I confirmed my agreement. The judge stamped some documents, pronounced the marriage dissolved. Just like that, 4 years of marriage ended with a simple bang of a gavel. Outside the courtroom, Kelsey approached me. "Ray, can I talk to you for a moment?" I hesitated, but I didn't walk away. "Yeah?" She fiddled with a crumpled tissue. "I just wanted to say I'm truly sorry. I know it's too late, but I needed to say it." Her eyes brimmed with tears. I studied her, feeling less anger than before, more numb acceptance. "I appreciate the apology," I said quietly. She sniffled. "I lost sight of everything real, chasing money and status. I wanted more, but I never realized how much I'd lose. I don't expect you to forgive me, but I hope one day you can." I pressed my lips together. "We can't erase the damage, Kelsey. But I do hope you find a way to move forward and not repeat the same mistakes." She nodded, tears sliding down her cheeks. "Thank you." She turned, walked away without asking for anything more. No pleas, no demands. A final, silent farewell. As I left the courthouse, the sun seemed brighter. I felt a tangible weight lift off my shoulders. The brand new chapter of my life began that moment, a chapter free of Kelsey's betrayal, free of Trevor's manipulations, free to define who I was beyond the role of the cheated husband. That afternoon, I found a small stationery store, bought a blank notebook, and wrote a single sentence on the first page. I choose to rebuild. It felt symbolic, a vow to myself. Sometimes I think back to the day I left the courthouse, freshly divorced, and told myself I was free from Kelsey's lies, from Trevor's manipulative web. At the time, that felt like the end of the story. Little did I know that the human heart and the criminal justice system can create new chapters even when you think you've closed the book. A month had passed since that final hearing. My days were calmer, my nights no longer spent prowling the house in suspicion. I was learning the rhythms of single life again. On the surface, things looked stable, but in the world of law and retribution, there was still Trevor's trial looming. He'd been indicted for financial misconduct, forging certain deal documents, and even some alleged sexual exploitation charges. Francis remained a ghost overseas, possibly dodging subpoenas. Meanwhile, Kelsey drifted in the city's underbelly, jobless, living in short-term rentals. She hadn't contacted me since the day she signed the divorce papers and walked away. My name still occasionally cropped up in local tabloids as the man who blew the whistle on TNA's dirty secrets. Some people lauded me as a hero, others said I'd been too harsh. I mostly ignored it. I was focusing on building my security consultancy. I had new gigs, new clients. My life was on a gradual upswing. Then, on a crisp Saturday morning, I got an unexpected text from Miriam Clark, the investigative reporter I'd spoken with weeks ago. "Raymond, my deep dive article is about to publish Monday. Would love a final check-in quote from you if you're open. Also, something big is brewing. Call me when you can." I frowned at the cryptic message. Something big? I dialed her number right away. Miriam answered. "Thanks for calling, Ray. My piece is mostly done. It covers Trevor's alleged ring of exploitation, but I uncovered a lead that some other partners are still operating in the background, possibly even forging Kelsey's signature on new bribe deals. Are you aware of anything like that?" I felt a jolt. No, I wasn't. Kelsey's name was toxic in the industry. Why would anyone keep using it? Miriam exhaled. Hard to say. Rumor has it there's a group of smaller players who liked Trevor's methods. With him out of commission, they might be forging documents under Kelsey's old accounts to keep shady funds moving. If so, it's new territory. My mind churned with the possibilities. Could Kelsey be truly done with Trevor's world, or was she entangled again somehow? "I appreciate the heads up," I told Miriam. "Keep me posted. If I learn anything, I'll let you know." We ended the call, and a cold, uneasy feeling stirred in my stomach. I sincerely hoped Kelsey wasn't re-involved in corporate deceit. She'd said she was broke. Maybe unscrupulous people were using her name. Or worst case, she was willingly returning to that underworld to survive. The next day, Sunday, I went for a morning run along Lake Michigan. The fresh air helped me clear my thoughts. I tried focusing on the positive, new life, potential. But my instincts kept twitching. Something about that phone call from Miriam told me we weren't done with the fiasco. Later, I was in my living room reviewing client documents when Ivan texted, "Heard rumors about TNA's leftover affiliates forging Kelsey's identity for new deals. Might be worth checking. Let's talk." I shot him a message. "Agreed. My place, 7 p.m.? Ivan arrived that evening, laptop in tow. We spread out at the dining table, scanning financial records from Trevor and Associates, the ones I still had from my old investigations. The company had mostly collapsed, but apparently a handful of middle managers had spun off smaller operations. Could they be continuing Trevor's entertainment's approach? Ivan said, I found references to K. Cole Consulting in documents dated 2 weeks ago. That's after your divorce was final. It looks like they're funneling money under her name, possibly forging her signature or roping her in somehow. My jaw tightened. I'd guess forging. She's got no official job. But why use her name? Are they trying to shift blame if they're caught? Ivan shrugged. Could be. Or maybe they think using Kelsey's brand as the old top closer might entice certain clients. She was known to, well, go the extra mile. I pinched the bridge of my nose. If Kelsey's not in on this, she could still be in danger if these shady players think she might talk or protest. If she is in on it well, that's her funeral. But it might circle back to me. Ivan nodded. We can't let them ruin your name by extension. People might think you're tied to her. Also, it's morally right to expose them again. I sighed. I feel like I just got out of a war. Now there's a new battlefront. He gave a sympathetic chuckle. Life's never dull, Ray. Over the following week, we quietly investigated. Ivan had advanced hacking skills. We used to do infiltration tasks in the Air Force together. So he probed certain corporate registration databases. We discovered a suspicious LLC formed about 10 days ago named Cole Partnerships. The listed contact was K. Cole. No official address, just a P.O. box. I recognized the name of one managing partner from TNA's old second-tier leadership, a weasel named Bennett Drury, who was rumored to idolize Trevor's methods. This was concerning. Bennett had a mild public persona, but behind the scenes, some said he was just as slimy. My gut told me to find Kelsey and warn her, or at least confirm if she was complicit or victim. But I had no direct means she'd effectively vanished. Ashley had no clue where Kelsey lived now either. Last she knew, Kelsey was couch hopping. Possibly, she changed phone numbers. One night, I called that old cheap motel near the city outskirts where Kelsey once stayed. The manager said she'd checked out 2 weeks ago. No forwarding address. Dead end. Meanwhile, Miriam Clark published her article. It went semi-viral locally, detailing how unscrupulous men like Trevor orchestrated sexual incentives with complicit employees like Kelsey. The piece mostly portrayed me as the whistleblower spouse who ended it all. I found it balanced enough. But near the end, Miriam hinted that further corruption might linger. Excerpt. A question remains. Are the exploited marketing tactics truly gone, or have they only shifted underground, wearing new masks? Unconfirmed sources suggest new forgeries, possibly under the name of the disgraced Kelsey Cole, might be in operation. That line was enough to spark chatter on social media. People speculated if Kelsey was at it again. Some ridiculed her, others pitied her. I just felt uneasy. Then, about 10 days after I first learned of these new forgeries, Miriam called me again, voice trembling. Ray, we need to meet. I got a tip from someone claiming to be Kelsey's friend. She said Kelsey's in real trouble, that some shady ex-colleagues threatened her if she didn't sign certain documents. I suspect they want to keep the Cole Partnership's facade alive. I stiffened. When and where can we talk? We agreed on a diner downtown that afternoon. I arrived early, scanning the booths. Miriam walked in a few minutes later wearing a business-casual blazer, face drawn with concern. She slid into the booth across from me. So what's going on? I asked. You said Kelsey's friend claims she's being threatened? Miriam nodded, lowering her voice. I got an anonymous email saying, quote, Kelsey Cole is being coerced by ex-TNA staff to keep forging documents under her name. If she refuses, they'll leak humiliating videos or harm her physically. She's desperate. My stomach churned. Videos? Possibly from Francis's blackmail stash? Miriam shrugged. Could be. Or maybe Trevor had other recordings. The email didn't specify, but it implied Kelsey is cornered. A swirl of conflicting emotions rose in me. She betrayed me. But do I want her physically threatened or blackmailed? No. That's not justice, that's criminal abuse. I took a slow breath. Have you tried responding to that anonymous email? Miriam nodded. They haven't replied yet. I'm worried it might be legit. And if Kelsey is forced to sign more deals, it could revitalize that exploitative ring. Which means more victims, more corruption, I muttered. I can't just let that happen. We parted ways with me promising to keep her updated. My next call was to Ivan. He listened carefully. So Kelsey's stuck in a blackmail corner. Great, that's messed up. Yeah, I said. As much as I resent her, I can't let her be used as a puppet for these scumbags. She's also my ex-wife. I'm not heartless. I want to stop them. Ivan sighed. You're sure you want to get pulled back into her mess? I'm sure, I said flatly. Let's dig deeper. We find out who's behind these forgeries, see if they're the same guys. Then we track down Kelsey. Over the next few days, we systematically poked around. With the original TNA meltdown, many staffers scattered. But we found Bennett Drury was quietly registering multiple shell companies. Another ex-employee, Jessa Nguyen, was rumored to do contract negotiations. Possibly also involved. We started hearing from some minor employees. They told us Bennett was obsessed with recreating Trevor's success, that he believed using Kelsey's infamous name might intimidate or seduce certain clients. Twisted logic, but not surprising in the underbelly of corporate hustle. Then, one evening, I got a break. My phone rang with a blocked number. A hushed female voice said, Raymond, it's Elaine. I used to be an assistant at TNA. I'm a friend of Kelsey's. She told me to call you. She's in trouble. My pulse spiked. Elaine, yes, talk to me. Where is Kelsey? Elaine hesitated. She's staying in a rundown building on Marshall Street. She's terrified. She asked me for a loan, said Bennett threatened her if she doesn't sign new documents. She told me she regrets everything and just wants out. But they have some explicit video, probably from Francis's stash, that they're using as leverage. Anger flared in my gut. All right, give me the address, I'll see what I can do. But I can't promise anything if she's truly complicit. Elaine gave me the address, a shoddy apartment complex. I thanked her, hung up, and immediately called Ivan. We found her location. Let's pay a visit tomorrow, discreetly. She might run or panic, so we approach carefully. Ivan agreed. I'll bring my gear in case we need a digital extraction like searching her phone or laptop for clues. The next day, around mid-afternoon, we drove to that dilapidated building on Marshall Street. The paint peeled, windows boarded in some units, a whiff of decay in the air. Perfect hideout for someone on the run. We found Unit 2B, knocked lightly. A few seconds of tense silence, then the door cracked open. Kelsey peeked out, eyes wide with shock. Her hair was unkempt, face pale, wearing a wrinkled hoodie and sweatpants, a stark contrast to the glamorous woman I once knew. Ray? She breathed, glancing at Ivan. What are you doing here? I met her gaze. Heard you were in trouble. Let us in. She hesitated, then stepped aside. The place was cramped, messy, a small living area with battered furniture. A half-empty instant noodle cup sat on the table. She looked more fragile than I'd ever seen her. Why would you come? She asked in a shaky voice. You hate me. I inhaled. I'm not here to rehash the past. I'm here to see if you need help. People are telling me you're being threatened to sign documents under your name. That true? Kelsey's eyes welled with tears. She sank onto the couch, burying her face in her hands. They approached me a week ago. Bennett and Jessa. They said if I didn't use my name on some bogus consulting contracts, they'd send an explicit video of me with Francis to everyone I know. Possibly even post it online. Ivan grimaced. So they're blackmailing you? She nodded miserably. I told them I was done with that life. But they showed me a clip from the video on a phone. It's humiliating, disgusting. They threatened to ruin me further or maybe hurt me physically. I exchanged a glance with Ivan. Then I asked, Kelsey, have you signed anything for them? She swallowed. I signed one contract last week. I was scared. But now they want more. They said if I keep cooperating, they'll let me have a cut of the money. I refused. They keep harassing me. A swirl of pity and frustration coiled inside me. You need to go to the police. She shook her head frantically. They told me if I do, they'll release the video immediately. I can't handle that. I let out a long breath. Look, you can't hide from them forever. They'll keep extorting you until you're drained. The only way is to expose them or gather enough leverage to stop them. Kelsey sniffled, wiping tears. I know, but I'm terrified. I have nothing left. I can't endure more public shaming. Ivan spoke gently. We might be able to help you get that video or sabotage their blackmail, but you'll have to cooperate. That means turning over any evidence you have, letting us search your phone or laptop. She looked between us. I don't have a laptop anymore. Sold it. My phone is a cheap prepaid. They contact me mostly in person or via unknown calls. They also sometimes show up outside, banging on my door. A flicker of rage crossed my face. The idea of Bennett's goons stalking her made me grit my teeth. We can set up a security measure, maybe small cameras or a mic to record them, then bring it to the cops. Kelsey bowed her head, voice trembling. I don't deserve your help, but I have no one else. I knelt in front of her. Look, we do this to shut down their operation. That's my only reason. Understand? She met my eyes, tears brimming. Yes, I understand. Thank you. I stood, turning to Ivan. We'll do a quick sweep, check for any bug or hidden device. Ivan nodded, retrieving a small detection gadget from his bag. He spent the next 10 minutes scanning the apartment. No suspicious signals found. Okay, Kelsey, I said. When they contact you next, we want to record it. We'll be discreet, maybe hide a device in your room. Then we can gather enough to push the cops to act. We also want to figure out who exactly is behind these forged K-Cole companies so we can shut them down. She nodded, nerves raw. All right. We set up a tiny camera in a corner shelf, disguised as a dusty candle jar. Next, we placed a hidden mic near the door. Ivan tested it on his phone. Crisp audio feed. Now, you text them something, I instructed. Like you're ready to meet but have questions. Let them come here, or set a meeting somewhere. We'll handle the rest. Kelsey gulped, picking up her cheap phone. Okay. Ivan wrote out a short script for her to send. She typed with trembling fingers. I changed my mind. I'm willing to sign more contracts. Let's talk details. Come by tomorrow evening? We watched her press send. Then we waited. In about 5 minutes, she received a reply from a random number. Fine, 7 p.m. Have your pen ready. She looked up, terrified. They're coming tomorrow. I gave her a reassuring nod. We'll be here, hidden. Let them say their piece. We'll catch them on camera. Then we'll approach the police. If they threaten you physically, we'll intervene. A shaky exhale escaped her. I'm so scared. I can't believe this is my life now. I swallowed my own bitterness. Actions have consequences, Kelsey. But we'll try to get you out of this blackmail mess. Ivan placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. Hang in there. We left shortly after, ensuring the hidden surveillance was live. That night, I reviewed my personal moral stance. Why am I risking myself for the woman who betrayed me? But deep down, it felt necessary to prevent further victims and to handle the scum who threatened her. I also recognized a flicker of old loyalty, or at least responsibility. Kelsey once was my partner, even if she shattered that bond. The next day, we planned meticulously. At 6:30 p.m., Ivan and I parked near the building wearing casual clothes. We'd enter the unit from the back window, quietly, and hide in the closet. That way, Kelsey could greet the blackmailers alone while we recorded from a second angle. 6:00 p.m., we got a text from Kelsey. I'm so nervous. They said they might bring a partner. Possibly Bennett or Jessa. Please, be careful. We told her to stay calm. By 6:20, we were on site, slipping in through the window. The closet was cramped, but workable. We tested the second hidden camera taped under a desk which faced the living room from an angle. Kelsey sat on the couch, phone in hand, waiting. She looked pale as a ghost. 7 p.m. came. Tense silence. A few minutes later, we heard footsteps in the hallway, a knock on the door. Kelsey glanced at us through the cracked closet door. We gave her a nod to proceed. She opened the door, revealing Bennett Drury, a short, stocky man in a cheap suit alongside a taller woman with severe features, presumably Jessa Nguyen. They stepped in, scanning the room suspiciously. Bennett sneered. You alone? Kelsey forced a casual nod. Yeah, just me. So, about these contracts, Ivan and I listened intently from the closet. Our camera feed streamed to a small tablet. Perfect vantage. We saw them walk around, Jessa's arms crossed. Jessa, we told you. Sign the new deals or face consequences. You keep half of the profit if you behave. Kelsey, I'm worried about that video you threatened. This has to stop. Bennett snorted. You don't get to decide that. You're already in this. If you bail, we post your little performance with Francis. You'll never live it down. Jessa smirked. Besides, it's not like you can go to the cops. You were part of Trevor's ring. They won't listen to a whore like you. Kelsey flinched. Please. I can't keep doing this. I just want out. Bennett advanced, pointing a finger in her face. You owe us. We're reviving TNA's success. Your name has brand recognition. Clients want the infamous Kelsey Cole, the closer. If you don't sign, we'll break you. My fists balled up in the closet. Steady, I told myself. Get more incriminating words first. Kelsey gulped. What about the money? Where is it coming from? Jessa. Various sponsors. Some old TNA contacts. We just funnel it through Cole partnerships. We show them your so-called services. You don't have to sleep with them if you don't want to, but some might expect it. That's your problem. Kelsey's voice trembled. I'm done sleeping with anyone. I'll sign a few deals, but no more. Bennett hissed. We'll see. Now sign these. He pulled out a folder, thrust it at her. It's our next set of forged service agreements. Then we'll talk about your cut. Or else we release the video. Maybe we release your address to some dangerous people, too. That was enough. I nodded to Ivan. We quietly stepped out of the closet. I approached them from behind, speaking in a cold, firm tone. All right, that's enough, you pieces of shit. They whirled around, startled. Jessa gasped. Bennett's eyes bugged out. What the? Kelsey slumped in relief, stepping back. I raised my phone, showing the live feed from our hidden camera. We've got everything you just said recorded. Threats, blackmail, forging deals, it's over. Bennett's face twisted in rage. He lunged forward. You Raymond Cole, that asshole who destroyed Trevor, right? I didn't bother responding verbally. Instead, I kept my stance ready, ex-Air Force reflexes on alert. Ivan stepped out, phone in hand. We already sent copies of the footage to secure storage. If anything happens to us or Kelsey, it goes public. Jessa sneered. You think we're afraid of some worthless ex-husband? Bennett advanced, jaw clenched. Hand over that phone or I swear— Ivan cut him off. You swear what? Attack us? Great, we'll add assault charges on top of blackmail. And we'll call the cops right now. They hesitated. I sensed their bravado wavering. People who thrive on intimidation often crumble when confronted with real consequences. Kelsey, breathing shakily, found her voice. You see, Bennett? I'm not alone. I won't sign anything. And if you come near me again, Ray has the evidence to bury you. Bennett shot her a hateful glare. We'll ruin you, you bitch. Then he turned to me. You think you're a hero? We can show the world more humiliating videos. That'll make a laughingstock of everyone involved, including you. I smirked grimly. Kelsey and I are divorced. My reputation's fine. You can't blackmail me with her videos, Jessa hissed. Let's go, Bennett. This is messed up. She tugged his sleeve. He wavered, then spat on the floor. This isn't over. Ivan snapped a quick photo of them. Smile for the camera. We have your faces. If you try anything, the cops get the full story plus your mug shots. They retreated to the door, fuming. Bennett glowered at Kelsey. You'll regret this. Then they stormed out, footsteps echoing down the corridor. The tension hung heavy in the apartment. Kelsey collapsed onto the couch, trembling, tears sliding down. I looked at Ivan, exhaling the breath I'd been holding. Let's see if we got all that on record. We checked the feed from the hidden camera. Perfect. We had them on video, making direct threats, discussing the forged documents. Ivan grinned. That's enough for the cops, at least to open an investigation. They basically spelled out their scheme. Kelsey stared at us, her face a mixture of relief and lingering fear. Thank you, she murmured. They might come after me, though. I nodded. We'll push this to the police ASAP. If you want real protection, you might need to relocate or stay with someone safe, maybe a protective order. She buried her face in her hands. I can't believe how far I've fallen. I regarded her quietly. We'll figure something out, but you need to promise you won't sign or do anything else shady. This is your chance to break free. Don't waste it. She nodded tearfully. I promise. We made some quick phone calls. Ivan had a contact in the local precinct who specialized in white-collar crimes. We arranged a meeting to deliver our evidence. Kelsey was hesitant, but she realized it was the only way forward. Before leaving, I advised Kelsey to pack her essentials. We can put you in a cheap motel for a few days, somewhere Bennett and Jessa won't find you easily. Then the cops can help. She gave me a grateful, broken smile. You'd do that for me? After everything? I sighed. This isn't about us. It's about stopping criminals. Let's go. That night, we helped her gather a few clothes, then drove her to a modest motel across town. I paid the deposit for a week, told her to keep a low profile. She expressed profound thanks, voice trembling with shame. I didn't linger on sentiment. Ivan parted ways after we got her settled. I returned home, drained, but strangely at peace. I'd done the right thing, even for my ex-wife. Early the next morning, Ivan and I visited the local precinct, meeting with Detective Ramirez, a middle-aged officer with sharp eyes. We provided a USB drive containing the new footage of Bennett and Jessa threatening Kelsey, plus copies of their forged coal partnerships docs we'd discovered. Detective Ramirez listened intently, occasionally nodding. We've had a partial eye on Bennett Drury since the TNA scandal, but we lacked direct evidence linking him to an active scheme. This changes things. Good job, fellas. I explained how they blackmailed Kelsey with an explicit video. We want them stopped. She's terrified for her safety. Ramirez pursed his lips. We can open an investigation, maybe get a warrant to search their offices if we confirm the forging. But blackmail can be tricky if we can't physically retrieve that explicit video. Ivan interjected. We might help with any digital forensics if you need it. Ramirez nodded. We appreciate that. Keep your phones on. We'll be in touch. Meanwhile, Miss Cole should remain hidden. That afternoon, I got a call from Kelsey. I braced myself, not sure if she'd back out. But she said, I spoke to a detective. I told him everything. They said they might get me a protective order. I said, good. That's the right move. She paused. Ray, I just can't thank you enough. I know I messed up so badly in the past. You still stepped in. A swirl of conflicting emotions churned in my chest. Don't read too much into it. I'm not doing this to fix us. I just hate seeing scum like Bennett prey on people. That includes you. She was quiet a moment. Understood. Still, I appreciate it. The motel's okay, by the way. I'll keep my head down. We ended the call. I set my phone aside, exhaling. The sense of moral duty weighed on me, but I also felt relief that we were cutting off more corruption. Over the next few days, Detective Ramirez reached out a couple times, updating me that they were building a formal case. They'd questioned Kelsey in detail, found enough cause to issue a search warrant for Bennett's recent business addresses. The wheels of justice turned, albeit slowly. Miriam from the press asked me for comment again. I demurred, not wanting to compromise the investigation. She teased, Ray, you're turning into a full-time vigilante protector. I half laughed. Hardly. Just finishing what we started. That weekend, Kelsey texted me. Bennett tried calling me from a blocked number, but I didn't answer. I told the detective. I reassured her. Meanwhile, I tried forging ahead with my personal life meeting potential new clients, redecorating the house. Still, a cloud lingered, the unresolved tension about whether Bennett and Jessa would retaliate. Sure enough, one evening around 9 p.m., my doorbell rang. I peered through the peephole to see a man I recognized as one of Bennett's cronies from old TNA staff photos, a burly guy named Neil. My adrenaline spiked. I opened the door cautiously, phone in hand ready to dial 911. Yes? Neil gave a forced smirk. Raymond Cole? I'm here on behalf of Bennett Drury. Mind if I come in? I scowled. I do mind. Whatever you want, say it here on the porch. He shifted, hands in his pockets. Look, man, we know you set up that fiasco with Kelsey. Bennett wants to avoid more drama. He's offering a deal. You back off, stop pushing cops to investigate, and in return, we'll leave Kelsey alone. Everyone walks away clean. My blood boiled. Is that supposed to be a threat or a bribe? He shrugged. Call it an arrangement. We don't release that humiliating video. We don't come after you or Kelsey. You drop the case. Everyone's happy. I snorted. No chance. Now get off my property. Neil's eyes narrowed. Suit yourself. But if you don't accept, you'll regret it. He turned on his heel and stomped away. I immediately phoned Ivan, relaying the incident. Then I texted Detective Ramirez. One of Bennett's guys just threatened me at my home. Ramirez responded swiftly. That's intimidation. Document it. We'll see about stepping up measures. It felt like a war of nerves. They wanted me to let them keep forging deals, blackmailing Kelsey. No way I'd fold. 2 days later, the police executed a search of Bennett's small coal partnerships office. They seized computers, found partial evidence of forging Kelsey's signature on multiple agreements. The good news, it was enough for an arrest warrant for Bennett and Jessa on suspicion of fraud, blackmail, and forgery. The bad news, Jessa was nowhere to be found, and Bennett vanished from his known addresses. A small swirl of anxiety. Criminals on the run can be desperate. Sure enough, that night around midnight, My phone buzzed with a text from Kelsey. "They're after me. I think Jessa's in my motel hallway. She's pounding on doors, yelling my name. Help!" I jolted upright from bed, grabbing clothes. I quickly called the police, telling them the motel address. Then I phoned Ivan, told him to meet me there. I dashed out. Arriving at the motel, I parked haphazardly. The place was dimly lit. I spotted a figure matching Jessa's description lurking near a second-floor railing. As I climbed the stairs, Jessa whipped around, brandishing a small baton. She glared. "Stay back, or I swear!" I raised my hands. "You're wanted by the police for blackmail, Jessa. Let Kelsey go." She hissed. "She set us up, she and you both. Bennett's gone, but I'm not letting her slip away." I scanned for Kelsey's door, which was slightly ajar. I saw her cowering inside, phone in hand. My protective instincts flared. "It's over, Jessa. The cops are on their way," she sneered, stepping closer. "I've got nothing to lose. I'll break that bitch if I can't get a cut of the money." I clenched my fists. "Don't make me do this." She swung the baton in a wide arc. I dodged, using my training to pivot, then grabbed her wrist, twisting it. She yelped in pain, dropping the baton. I forced her arm behind her back. She flailed, but I locked her elbow joint, controlling her. My heart pounded with adrenaline. "Stay down," I growled. She cursed me, tried stomping my foot, but I maintained my hold until sirens wailed in the distance. 2 uniformed officers rushed up the stairs, guns drawn. I released Jessa to them. She shrieked, "He attacked me!" But they cuffed her anyway, citing the outstanding arrest warrant. I rubbed my shoulder, ignoring her screaming. My gaze went to Kelsey, who peeked out, tears in her eyes. She mouthed a shaky, "Thank you." One officer led Jessa away. Another took statements. I explained how she threatened Kelsey, brandished a weapon. Kelsey corroborated, voice shaking. The officer nodded. "We'll take her to the station. Good job staying calm." As they left, I found Kelsey trembling in the motel room. She sank onto the bed, hugging her knees. "I thought she was going to kill me. She was so angry, raving about money, blaming me for Bennett's disappearance." I nodded grimly. "She's behind bars now. That leaves Bennett, who's still MIA. But at least Jessa is out of commission." She swallowed. "Where do I go from here, Ray? I have no job, no future, and psychos want me dead. Is this never ending?" Compassion stirred, though I reminded myself we were no longer a couple. "You can ask the detective about protective custody if you feel unsafe. Also, once you're cleared from any wrongdoing, you might find a small job somewhere new. Start fresh." Her eyes glistened. "Who'd hire me? Everyone knows what I did at TNA. I had no immediate comforting answer. One step at a time. Right now, you're alive, and your blackmailers are going down. That's progress." Ivan arrived just then, panting. "You good?" He sized up the scene. "Looks like the cops got Jessa, huh?" Kelsey nodded tearfully. Ivan gave me a quick grin. "You always were a pro at hand-to-hand." I shrugged, adrenaline still buzzing. Then I turned to Kelsey. "We should see about relocating you again. This place might not be safe if Bennett knows you're here." She sniffed. "I don't have money for another motel." My voice came out heavy. "We'll handle it. One more time. But I can't keep rescuing you. Understand?" She looked down. "I understand." We found another motel across town, closer to the police station, letting Detective Ramirez know. Kelsey spent the ride in silence, a storm of regret in her eyes. Once she was settled, I stepped outside for fresh air. Ivan followed, pulling me aside. "You realize the cost of these motels is stacking up. Not that I'm complaining about your generosity, but do you plan to do this indefinitely?" I ran a hand through my hair. "No, I'm just finishing the job. Once Bennett is caught, Kelsey can figure out her own path. I'm done after that." Ivan nodded, seemingly satisfied. "Fair. Let's hope it's soon. Another week crept by. Jessa was officially charged with attempted assault, blackmail, and conspiracy to commit fraud. The cops intensively searched for Bennett Drury, who was apparently cunning enough to evade them. Some rumored he fled the state, others that he was hiding with shady associates. Kelsey remained in the new motel, occasionally texting me updates. She said the detective might soon interview her for a final statement to strengthen the case. She was nervous, but cooperative. Meanwhile, I tried to maintain my normal routine. My security consultancy was stable, though I'd turned down an out-of-town contract. I couldn't leave with all this still unresolved. Part of me resented how Kelsey's drama kept overshadowing my desire to move on. One evening, Detective Ramirez called me, voice urgent. "We got a tip Bennett might show up at a certain location tomorrow night to retrieve hidden documents. We plan to stake it out. Mind assisting for possible ID confirmation?" I paused. "I'm not law enforcement. Are you sure that's wise?" He insisted. "You know his face from old T&A files. We might need an immediate positive ID if he tries to disguise himself. We can keep you back at a safe distance." I agreed. Could be the final step to nail Bennett. The next night, I found myself in a quiet industrial district near a defunct office building. Detective Ramirez and two uniformed cops waited in an unmarked car. I sat in the back seat, scanning the area with binoculars. The tip said Bennett would come around 8 p.m. to rummage some old T&A storage unit. 8:15, no sign. 8:30, still nothing. By 8:45, we were restless. Maybe the tip was bad or Bennett smelled a setup. Then at 9:05, a battered sedan rolled up, headlights off. A figure got out, short and stocky build, wearing a hoodie. He paced to a side door, glancing around nervously. My pulse jumped. "That's him," I whispered. "Same stature. The face is half hidden, but I'd bet it's Bennett." Ramirez nodded, signaled the uniforms. "Let's move in. You stay put until we confirm." I watched from the car as the two uniformed cops approached with caution. "Hands up, police!" they shouted. The figure spun. Something glinted, maybe a gun. One cop yelled, "Gun!" Shots rang out, a quick burst of confusion. My heart lurched. Then I saw the suspect drop to the ground, moaning. The cops advanced, disarmed him. Another policeman radioed for paramedics. The entire confrontation ended in seconds. Ramirez turned to me, eyes wide. "Stay here!" He leaped out. I watched him approach the scene, kneel next to the suspect. Lights from the squad car illuminated the area. After a tense few minutes, Ramirez returned, expression grim. He fired one shot at the officers, missed, but they returned fire. He's alive, but badly injured. He's definitely Bennett Drury, ID in his pocket. They found a flash drive with what looks like blackmail material. Good job, Ray. I let out a shaking breath. Damn. By the time paramedics arrived, I was allowed to step out, keeping my distance. Bennett lay on the ground, bleeding from a leg wound, cursing under his breath. He glared at me, face twisted in hatred. I stared back, no triumph. Just relief it was ending. That hateful glint in his eyes told me he'd never stop if left free. But now, he was done. Over the next hour, the cops secured the scene, collected the flash drive. Ramirez told me quietly, "This might contain the explicit videos and other documents. Should seal the case. Thanks for your help confirming ID." I nodded, glad no one else was hurt. The officer who fired the shot was shaken, but uninjured. As I drove home, the city lights blurred. My mind replayed the gunshots. Another violent chapter in a saga that started with a simple cheating scandal. Life can escalate fast. The next morning, I updated Kelsey via text. "Bennett was arrested after a shootout. He's in custody. That threat is gone." She replied a few hours later. "Thank God. I'm so relieved. Let me know if you need me for anything else. I might head out of town for a fresh start." Reading her words, I felt a pang of finality. Maybe this was her chance to vanish from Chicago, rebuild somewhere. I found it strangely satisfying, the idea of both of us truly moving on. Over the following days, the authorities confirmed that the flash drive seized from Bennett contained the explicit Francis videos, along with multiple forged contracts, blackmail notes, and references to Jess's involvement. A slam dunk for the prosecution, likely culminating in serious prison time for them both. Kelsey cooperated fully, providing statements, no charges filed against her since she was a victim of extortion. She told me the detective advised her to keep low profile until the trial concluded. Meanwhile, Trevor's separate trial for financial misconduct continued in slow motion, overshadowed by this new fiasco. I barely followed it. One evening, Kelsey summoned the courage to ask me out for coffee, just to talk. I debated it. Did I want more entanglement? But I agreed, setting a neutral location, a cafe near downtown. A sense of closure compelled me. I arrived first, took a seat in a quiet corner, black coffee in hand. She showed up wearing simple jeans and a sweater, hair pulled back, a stark difference from her once corporate glam. She looked anxious, yet determined. She sat down, offered a half smile. "Thanks for coming." I nodded. "Sure." She fiddled with her cup. "I guess I wanted to apologize again, but also to share that I'm leaving Chicago next week. A friend in St. Louis offered me a small marketing assistant job, ironically. They know my scandal, but are giving me a second chance. I figure it's my best shot." "St. Louis, huh?" I said, swirling my coffee. "That's good, maybe. A clean break." She exhaled. "Yeah. I just can't stay here. The name Kelsey Cole is toxic in Chicago's marketing scene. Everyone associates me with the Trevor scandal. I'll never outrun it unless I relocate." I sipped quietly. "Makes sense. I hope it works out for you." She studied me. "I also wanted to say I appreciate that you saved my life. Multiple times. Even after everything. I know I didn't deserve it. But you still fought those blackmailers, you paid for motels, you kept me safe. Thank you." I shrugged, feeling a tangle of emotions. "I did what was right. That's all." Her gaze flicked to the table. "I'm sorry I threw away our marriage. I became someone I don't recognize. If I could rewind time, I'd do so many things differently." A quiet pang in my chest. "Life doesn't offer rewinds. We move forward." She nodded, tears glinting. "I know. I guess I just needed to say I'm sorry in person. I truly wish you happiness, Ray. You deserve it. I hope you find a woman who respects you for real. Not like I did." A faint, sad smile tugged my lips. "Thank you for that. I also hope you find peace in St. Louis. Learn from your mistakes. Never repeat them." She blinked back tears, then reached into her purse, pulling out a small envelope. "I wrote a letter. Just my final thoughts if you ever want to read it. Then you can toss it. I won't ask if you keep it." I hesitated, then accepted the envelope. "Sure." She stood, clearing her throat. "I'll go now. Don't worry, I'm not expecting anything else from you. Goodbye, Raymond." I rose, too, offering a handshake out of politeness. She took my hand, squeezed lightly, then walked away, tears slipping down her cheeks. It felt like a final bow on a tragic story. I watched her exit the cafe, crossing the street, blending into the midday crowd. Part of me wanted to chase her, say something more, but no. The curtain had fallen on us. This was closure. That night I debated whether to open her letter. Eventually, curiosity won. Inside was a handwritten note. "Ray, I know we can't fix the past. I hurt you. I destroyed our marriage for greed and ambition. I regret it every single day. Maybe you'll never forgive me, but I hope you understand that I've paid a terrible price. I wish I could say I learned a valuable lesson, but the truth is, I just want a chance to live without fear or guilt. I'm grateful you saved me from Bennett's wrath. You gave me a second chance at life, even when I deserved none. You showed me that I was wrong about you being a basic, unambitious man. In reality, you're stronger and more honorable than I could ever be. I won't bother you again. This is my final goodbye. If the universe is kind, maybe our souls will find closure. Thank you for everything past, present, and the future I forfeited. Kelsey. I closed the letter, heart heavy yet oddly calm. This was truly the end. Maybe we both needed that parting statement. The next phase of my life felt like a quiet dawn after a thunderstorm. With Kelsey heading to St. Louis and all the main players indicted or on the run, I finally had the bandwidth to focus solely on myself. No more crises, no more phone calls about shady deals. I was simply Raymond Cole, a freelance security consultant with a battered but intact heart. Trevor was eventually found guilty on multiple counts: fraud, conspiracy, unethical practices. His sentencing was scheduled for the following spring. Francis remained overseas, though rumors abounded that the FBI or Interpol might eventually catch him. Bennett and Jessa faced trial for forging Kelsey's name and blackmail. Kelsey was presumably called to testify, but from a safe distance. Meanwhile, the city found other scandals to gossip about. My brief fame as the scorned husband who exposed TNA faded. I was grateful. I hated the spotlight. My phone still buzzed with potential clients impressed by how I handled high-stakes infiltration. I quietly accepted some new contracts, traveling regionally, but ensuring I had restful nights back home. Ivan and I parted ways professionally, though we remained close friends. He said, "Dude, I'm proud of how you never compromised your morals." I half laughed at the irony, considering all the subterfuge, but I appreciated his support. One day, out of the blue, Ashley invited me to lunch. She had jumped ship from TNA early on, and now worked at a modest marketing firm under new management. She greeted me at a casual restaurant, wearing a warm smile that replaced the old stress lines I remembered. "Ray, thanks for meeting me," she said, pushing a glass of iced tea my way. "Just wanted to see how you're doing." I shrugged lightly. "Better, honestly. Life's calmer now." She nodded. "I'm glad. I also wanted to mention my new boss is looking for a security consultant to advise on data protection. I recommended you. They might call you soon." I thanked her. "That'd be great. Appreciate it." She sipped her tea, glancing up shyly. "And how's your personal life? Sorry, I don't mean to pry." I mustered a small grin. "No significant changes, just focusing on me." Her gaze flickered with empathy. "That's good. You deserve peace after all the drama." We chatted more about everyday things, movies, local news, good restaurants. It felt refreshingly normal, like two old acquaintances bridging a gap. In an odd twist, she confided that she always felt a bit guilty for enabling Kelsey early on. But she was done blaming herself. I assured her she did her best under the circumstances. When we parted, Ashley gave me a friendly hug. "Take care, Ray. Don't be a stranger." Her perfume was subtle, not the cloying corporate scents I associated with Kelsey. For a moment, I felt a flicker of warmth, but we left it at that, just a warm goodbye. The following week, I received a phone call from a potential new client, Melissa Parker, the head of marketing at Ashley's new firm. She wanted me to do a security audit. I accepted, grateful for legitimate work untainted by scandal. As I delved into that project, I realized how far I'd come. My mind no longer lingered on Kelsey's betrayal daily. I was forging a new path, carrying the scars but not letting them define me. I choose to rebuild. I'd written that line in a notebook the day the divorce was finalized. Day by day, I was living it. Occasionally, I checked in on the Trevor trial updates in the news. He was found guilty on multiple charges, facing up to a decade in prison. No tears from me. The man had sown misery. Kelsey's name popped up occasionally as the marketing employee who participated in unethical liaisons, but it was overshadowed by bigger headlines about Trevor's overall corruption. She was lucky not to face charges. The state recognized her as more victim than co-conspirator, especially after the new blackmail case. A month after Kelsey moved to St. Louis, she sent me a final text. Got a small marketing assistant job. My boss is kind, doesn't hold my past against me. Thank you for giving me the chance to break away. I owe you. This is the last you'll hear from me. Stay well, Ray. I stared at the screen a moment, typed a short reply. Good luck, Kelsey. Take care. Then I deleted her contact, truly letting her go. That evening, I found myself on my porch, sipping a beer, watching the sunset. Hey, listeners of Temptress Cheating Tales. If you enjoyed hearing this story and want to stay in the loop with our latest content, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. You won't want to miss what's coming next. Thanks for tuning in, and see you in the next wonderful story.
Kelsey's POV. I have this memory that plays on repeat in my head. It's not some grand romantic moment nor a tragic final fight. It's a random Tuesday night before everything got twisted when I was sitting at the kitchen table with Raymond, laughing over takeout noodles. He'd just made some corny pun about soy sauce. I threw a paper napkin at him, giggling. It was small, silly, but the feeling of warmth in that fleeting moment was genuine. Now when I recall that memory, I want to scream at my younger self, "Don't let go of this, don't chase illusions." But it's too late. I can't stop the avalanche that I set into motion. If I'm going to dig into the roots of how I ended up betraying my husband, humiliating myself, and nearly destroying my own life, I have to be honest. Not just about Trevor's manipulation, or about the toxic environment at Trevor and Associates, but about me, my ambition, my greed, my willingness to cross lines. Trevor and Associates had just promoted me to a mid-level marketing role. I was elated. I'd always seen myself as a fast-rising star, the kind of woman who dazzles at networking events, locks down big deals, outperforms her colleagues. Trevor, the boss, recognized that spark in me, or so I thought. Raymond, at the time, was traveling a lot for his security gigs. Air Force background turned him into a road warrior. He'd vanish for a week, come back exhausted. Our life felt like we were orbiting different planets. I was forging ahead in my career, discovering I craved recognition, while he was treading water with smaller contracts, often out of town. That's when Trevor started giving me more attention. At first, it was all business. "Kelsey, you've got a flair for negotiation. Kelsey, come to this dinner. We need your polish to charm the client." I was hungry for it. I want more, I told myself. I deserve more. I remember the first time I realized Trevor might want more than just my professional skill. We'd just landed a moderate-sized account, and over drinks, he leaned in, complimenting my dedication, letting his hand linger on my arm. It sent a tingle of something electric through me. Part of me felt a rush like I had real power. Another part felt uneasy. The next day, I caught a glimpse of myself in the office's glass reflection. I looked the same, but inside I was wrestling with a growing secret. I liked that he wanted me. Or more accurately, I liked the potential it hinted at: easier promotions, bigger bonuses. Did that make me a monster? Over the following weeks, Trevor dropped more hints. "You're going places, Kelsey. Stick with me, and you'll be unstoppable." My self-esteem soared. I started wearing sharper outfits, staying late at the office, occasionally skipping dinner with Raymond or making flimsy excuses. I told myself it was for the sake of our future raise and mine. If I could climb to a bigger paycheck, he wouldn't have to kill himself traveling. But I never talked to him about it. Instead, I fed him half-truths. Busy season, tight deadlines. The client demanded more time. And then I started getting bolder. Catching Trevor's eye across meeting rooms, letting him see that I was intrigued. At the same time, I noticed how disjointed Ray and I were at home. It was like we'd lost that random Tuesday night laughter. I told myself, he'll never know. I'm just being strategic. But a creeping voice inside me said, "You're dancing on a razor's edge." I was in Trevor's office, going over marketing proposals. We locked in a multi-million-dollar potential client named Feldman. Trevor closed the door and said, "Let me show you my appreciation, Kelsey," stepping closer than necessary. My heart hammered. If I'd turned him down right then, maybe I'd have escaped the entire fiasco. But my pride was too hungry. I felt his hand at my waist. My mind flashed with warnings. This is crossing a line. But then I imagined a future with a big raise, maybe a management position. I justified it. Lots of people mix business and attraction. So I let him kiss me. It was a bizarre swirl of guilt and excitement. When I got home that night, Ray was dead asleep, his flight from some assignment having landed late. I crept into bed, reeking of Trevor's cologne. Guilt gnawed at me, but part of me was also triumphant. I had Trevor's ear. He told me I was unstoppable. The next morning, Ray didn't even ask why I smelled different. He seemed too tired. Another missed chance for me to come clean or change course. That was the first real betrayal. Yet it was just a spark. Over the next month, the spark grew into a flame. Trevor's private celebrations became more frequent. He'd whisk me off to a hotel bar after we sealed a deal. I'd do more than just talk. And yes, it stung my conscience. But every time he'd dangle professional perks. "I'll push for you to be associate director," or "I'll see if we can get you a bigger bonus." My ambition overshadowed my loyalty to Ray. I told myself it was an affair in service of my career. I still love Ray, obviously, but it was a twisted rationalization. The more I got entangled, the less I saw Ray as a partner, and the more I resented him for not being ambitious enough. That was how I excused my wrongdoing. He doesn't even try to climb the ladder. God, it was ugly thinking. Then Francis entered the picture. He was a wealthy investor who Trevor wanted to impress. He scheduled a dinner meeting and told me, "Be extra sweet to Francis. He's old school. He loves feeling admired by a younger woman." I cringed, but Trevor said, "If we land him, I'll personally see you get a 5-figure bonus, Kelsey." I won't lie, I saw dollar signs. Ray and I had a mortgage. I had a taste for nicer clothes. I said yes. That night at dinner, I acted like Francis was the most fascinating man alive. I giggled at his corny jokes, leaned in when he talked. Nothing physical happened that night, but my moral line had shifted again. Afterward, I came home and saw Ray's face light up. He'd prepared a late-night snack, wanting to celebrate something. I muttered something about being tired from client schmoozing. He tried hugging me. I barely responded. The old warmth we had was slipping through my fingers, replaced by my fix for corporate conquest. Over the next few months, Trevor started praising me openly in front of the entire staff. He called me the best closer we have. That stoked my ego. People teased that I was his favorite. I pretended to laugh, but deep down, I reveled in it. Ashley, my coworker, gave me sideways glances like she suspected more was happening than normal client dinners. She wasn't wrong. Ray was oblivious, or maybe he trusted me too much. We had arguments about my late nights. He'd say, "Kelsey, you don't have to kill yourself at the office. Let's watch a movie." And I'd snap back, "Don't you want me to succeed? I'm doing this for us." Then he'd back off, looking hurt, and I'd feel that pang again, only to bury it once more. Trevor upped the ante. He said that for the big investor named Feldman, another one, not Francis, we might sweeten the pot. He joked, "Kelsey, if you really put on the charm, he'll sign a bigger contract." That's how the concept of loaning me out first entered the conversation. It sounded insane, something out of a vile rumor, but Trevor was test driving it, seeing if I'd bite. I refused that time, disgusted. "I'm not a prostitute." He smirked. "Of course not, but you've done favors for me, and you seem to enjoy it. Think of the money." I felt nauseous, but part of me was ironically flattered that he saw me as a secret weapon. I wanted the next promotion so badly. I said, "Let me think about it." Horrible words. Trevor had found my Achilles' heel, greed for success. When I got home, Ray was gone on a security trip. Our empty house felt cold. I poured myself a glass of wine, telling myself, maybe I can keep it at just flirting. I don't actually have to sleep with clients. The line was so murky now, though. I'd already been intimate with Trevor plenty of times. The slope was slippery. I had a major argument with Ray about our finances. He was stressed about some slowdown in his security contracts. We had credit card bills from my new clothes, my lunches at fancy spots. Instead of calmly addressing it, I turned it into an attack. "If you had a better job, maybe I wouldn't have to hustle so hard at T&A." The look on his face was heartbreak. He said quietly, "I'm doing the best I can, Kelsey." Then he turned away. I felt triumphant that I'd cowed him, but also deeply ashamed. That night, Trevor called me, praising me for how I'd handled a certain negotiation. He said, "You want that senior VP track, right? Keep doing what you're doing." I told him I'd do whatever it took. Even as the word whatever left my mouth, a chill crawled up my spine. Soon, I discovered Trevor's deeper side. He'd done arrangements with other female employees before. One coworker confided that Trevor basically had them entertain certain prospects. She told me it's how she got a down payment for her condo. The idea of it sickened me at first, but then it started sounding like a path. I told myself, if other women do it, it must be normal in big corporate worlds. Denial, denial. Trevor took me on a short business trip to meet a potential sponsor. We ended up in a hotel suite. I let him do whatever he wanted. By that point, my guilt had numbed, replaced by a swirling sense of, I'm too far gone. I told myself if Ray found out, he'd leave me. But I believed I could hide it. Ray is always traveling anyway. He's never around to suspect me. Twisted logic. Francis reappeared, courting T&A for an even larger stake. Trevor told me plainly, "Kelsey, you might have to sweeten him personally. It'll be worth a massive bonus. And if you lock him in, I'll put you on track for that senior VP promotion." My heart hammered. I'd never actually done anything with Francis except heavy flirting. This time, Trevor implied more. The night I ended up in Francis's penthouse was the turning point. I told myself I'd just have drinks, but I ended up allowing him to get handsy. He was older, but he had that slick confidence. He kept praising my beauty, my talent. I let him kiss me, then more. I tried to block out Ray's face from my mind. It's just one night, one big deal. But once we started, he acted like it was a matter of course that I'd do everything he desired, and I did my moral lines completely severed. After that, I cried in the taxi home. But the next day, Trevor emailed me about the new consulting fee in my account, 15 grand. I saw that bank statement and my tears dried, replaced by a savage sense of justification. Look at me, making real money. Ray never has to know. I lied to him about a work bonus. He accepted it, praising my hard work. The hypocrisy was suffocating. Meanwhile, the hush around the office was that Kelsey was unstoppable. Ashley noticed my new jewelry, asked if Ray bought it. I deflected. I caught her concerned looks. Part of me wanted to confide in someone, but another part feared condemnation. So I kept burying the guilt under a veneer of arrogance. I'm the star performer. This is corporate life. Then, during a private conversation, Trevor mentioned someone else had entertained Francis last year. She ended up in a meltdown afterward, apparently. I bristled, but Trevor shrugged. Not everyone's cut out for big leagues. That's when I realized how cold he truly was. But I was already complicit, so I forced myself to push the doubts away. Ray returned from a trip early, unexpectedly. That was the night he discovered some suspicious bills or caught me on late phone calls. I panicked, changed my phone passcode. Trevor told me not to worry, said Ray was just a grunt. I repeated that to myself like a shield. He won't do anything. Meanwhile, I flaunted new clothes, new confidence. At dinner with Ray, I'd check my phone constantly, ignoring him. I was borderline cruel, but I rationalized it. He's not supporting my ambition, so I owe him no gentleness. Inside, though, cracks formed. I started having nightmares about Ray confronting me, or the entire T&A office mocking me. I'd wake in a sweat, only to bury the feeling again. Trevor told me to keep Ray clueless, so that's what I did. As we neared the holiday season, the big marketing gala was on the horizon. Trevor whispered that I'd get a star mention. He teased that if we also locked in another chunk of Francis's money, he'd give me a personal mention as the best deal closer in T&A history. My eyes glowed with vanity. Yes, give me that spotlight. That's when I let go of the last shred of loyalty to Ray. I publicly ridiculed him in a text to Trevor. He's basically a nobody. I run circles around him. Trevor replied with a thumbs-up emoji. I felt a surge of twisted pride. The night Ray came to my office unannounced with coffee that was awkward. Trevor made that disgusting joke about keeping me busy after hours. Ray glared, and I smoothed it over with a fake laugh. My heart was pounding. I realized how precarious my deception was. But I'd come too far. I told Ray to leave, acting irritated. Deep down, I was terrified he'd unmask everything right then. And then, finally, came the actual gala. I was beyond excited. I'd heard from Trevor that he'd publicly announce me as the new senior VP after Francis's official handshake. I bought a midnight blue cocktail dress that cost a small fortune. I practiced a sweet acceptance speech in the mirror. Ray wasn't supposed to be there. Everything was set. That night at the gala, I remember scanning the crowd, seeing big smiles, hearing the band warm up. I felt unstoppable, like I'd conquered the entire marketing world. Then I saw Ray lurking at a back table, surprising me. My heart skipped. He was calmly sipping water or something. I tried to ignore him, focusing on Trevor's upcoming speech, but my gut churned. Why is Ray here? Did he suspect something? Trevor grabbed the mic, praising me, calling me our secret weapon. I glowed. The audience clapped. The next seconds replay in my nightmares. The speakers crackled, and suddenly my voice was blasting over the sound system, talking about keeping Ray clueless, about sleeping with Francis. Gasps filled the room. I felt the color drain from my face, a spotlight of shame scorching my skin. I recall frantically scanning the crowd, people pulling out phones, recording me, pointing. I glimpsed Ray standing near a pillar, face cold, letting the meltdown unfold. The audio kept playing, my voice bragging about greed, about sleeping with Trevor. Trevor tried to kill the feed, but it kept going. The entire crowd heard the filth of my private deals. I wanted to vanish into the floor. The next minutes were chaos. Trevor lost it, screaming at Ray. Security scuffled. Francis tried to slip away. The entire board stared at me with disgust. I felt the betrayal scalding every nerve. My facade was shattered. Cameras flashed. My name got dragged through the mud on every phone's social media feed. I crumpled, tears streaming, repeating no, 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 like a prayer to undo time. Ray approached me just once. He leaned in, voice quiet, saying something like, "You made your bed, Kelsey." The final blow. Then he turned away. I collapsed on the floor, sobbing hysterically as paparazzi-like onlookers snapped photos. I wanted to scream at him to fix it, but I knew it was over. That meltdown was the turning point. The next day, I woke up in some friend's spare bedroom, puffy-eyed, my phone bombarded with hateful messages. Slut, corporate whore, etc. I stared at the news headlines, seeing my face plastered under humiliating stories of the T&A fiasco. My entire ambitious future had combusted. I tried calling Trevor for help. He refused to answer. Then I discovered he was under board investigation. Francis ghosted me too. My illusions of power had evaporated overnight. Ray barely spoke to me except to say he'd be filing for divorce. I realized the magnitude of my mistakes. All the sweet illusions of, "I'm doing this for us," collapsed, revealing that it was purely my greed, my vanity. I cried for days, but tears couldn't fix the emptiness or the wave of condemnation from the world. I ended up losing my job, obviously. The company suspended me, then terminated me. People spat vile comments at me online. Mom and Dad, devoutly moral, disowned me in shame. I hopped between motels, barely affording them, sinking deeper into despair. That's when the blackmail from ex-colleagues started. They demanded I sign new deals, threatened to release even more explicit footage from Francis's hidden camera. I was stuck in a nightmarish loop. I called Ray in desperation. Part of me knew I had no right, but he was the only stable anchor I'd ever known. He answered with ice in his voice, but eventually stepped in to protect me from the blackmailers. He even paid for a motel, set up hidden cameras to catch them threatening me. I felt so degraded. The husband I betrayed now ironically saving me from further exploitation. The shame was suffocating. But it was also a sliver of hope. Maybe I could survive if he got these scumbags off my back. In that final confrontation with those blackmailers, Bennett and Jessa, I saw Ray emerge from hiding, telling them, "That's enough." A wave of gratitude and heartbreak crashed in me. I realized I truly had destroyed everything good in my life, and yet Ray in that moment was still strong, protective. While I cowered like a wreck, he faced them. He told me afterward that he wasn't doing it for me personally, but to end scum like them. Still, I couldn't help feeling a flicker of relief that he cared enough to keep me alive. When the cops took Bennett and Jessa away, I realized how pathetically reliant I was on Ray's moral code. After all I'd done, all the times I ridiculed him as basic and unambitious, he was the one with real integrity. The realization stung more than any public humiliation. He's better than me, I told myself, tears burning my cheeks. Eventually, the blackmail ring was crushed. Trevor faced prison for his own crimes, and I found myself an outcast. Ray paid for a final motel. My last conversation with him in Chicago was at a cheap coffee shop. I saw the heartbreak behind his eyes, but also a wall of resolve. I apologized, truly, for all the ways I destroyed our marriage. He accepted it in a reserved manner, basically telling me to rebuild my life somewhere else. He didn't sugarcoat it. We can't fix what's broken. I cried after he left, eventually scribbling a letter to him that evening, a final thank you and goodbye. I recognized that he'd offered me more compassion in the end than I ever showed him. I told him in that letter that he was stronger and more honorable than I realized. Then I packed my few belongings and left Chicago for St. Louis, where an old friend promised me a second-chance job. Even though I boarded that bus feeling hollow, I also felt a shred of potential. I can start over. That's how I parted from Ray. The next chapter of my life was about learning humility, facing the consequences, and maybe just maybe making amends to my own conscience. I arrived in St. Louis on a rain-soaked Thursday evening. The bus station reeked of stale coffee and damp coats. I clutched a small suitcase, everything I owned now. My friend Tricia was waiting by the exit, waving. She recognized the broken look in my eyes. She'd read about the Trevor and Associates fiasco online, but she claimed everybody deserves a second chance. I nearly collapsed in her arms. Tricia let me stay in her cramped studio apartment for a week. I tried to keep my meltdown quiet, but on the second night, I burst into tears while we were watching TV. She paused the show, turning to me. "Kelsey, you have to let it out. I know it's big." So I told her the broad strokes, the affair, the blackmail, the public humiliation. She didn't judge me harshly. She just stroked my hair, saying softly, "You messed up big time, but you can rebuild if you face it head-on." The next morning, she took me to her marketing firm's small branch office. Her boss, Megan, was a no-nonsense woman in her 40s, wearing a simple blouse, no fancy jewelry. I sat in her office, the fluorescent lights flickering overhead, swallowing lumps of fear that she'd mentioned my scandal. Megan said calmly, "Tricia tells me you have experience in corporate marketing. I'm aware of the controversy in Chicago. Mind telling me your version?" I stammered through a brief explanation, skirting the grim details, but not denying I was involved in unethical behavior. I expected a door slam. Instead, Megan sighed and said, "I'm not naive. People screw up. If you're genuinely remorseful, we can give you a try. But I won't tolerate any shady deals. You follow our moral code or you're out." I nearly cried with gratitude, whispering, "Thank you." That's how I landed a junior role in a small marketing department in St. Louis, far from the high-rolling illusions of T&A. My first tasks were mundane organizing digital files, emailing prospective clients for standard outreach. No VIP dinners, no big bonuses, just honest, entry-level work. Strangely, it felt cleansing, like I was purging the toxins from my old life. At nights, though, the guilt and shame attacked me. I'd have nightmares of Ray's face at the Gala, or Trevor sneering, or Francis grabbing me. I'd jolt awake, panting in a cold sweat. Sometimes I'd check my phone hoping for a text from Ray, even though I knew he'd moved on. That mixture of heartbreak and self-loathing weighed heavily. After a couple of weeks, I found a modest studio apartment near downtown. The rent was borderline, but I'd manage if I budgeted carefully. No more fancy clothes or pricey lunches. I sold the last piece of jewelry that Francis had given me, scraping together enough to pay the deposit. Letting go of that diamond bracelet was symbolic, like severing a chain from my old illusions. Tricia helped me settle in, then parted with a hug. "You're on your own 2 feet now. I'm proud," she said. "Just keep your head up, okay?" I nodded, tears stinging. My days followed a quiet routine. Wake up early, walk to the bus stop, commute to the small marketing office, do my tasks, politely chat with coworkers who mostly saw me as the new quiet girl. I avoided any discussion of my past, though a few might have recognized me from the T&A scandal. If they did, they kept it to themselves or whispered behind my back. I forced myself not to crumble from paranoia. At night, I'd come home to an empty one-room place with peeling wallpaper and flickering overhead lights. Sometimes I'd replay old times with Ray, or recollect the steps that led me here. I'd fight the tears, telling myself, I deserve this purgatory. And a small voice kept telling me, work through it, become better. As the weeks turned into over a month, I started noticing changes in myself. I felt relief that no one demanded I sleep with clients. Megan simply wanted me to handle phone calls or emails or coordinate small local events. I found satisfaction in normalcy. The tension of, who do I have to please physically, was gone. That's when I realized how twisted T&A had been, that I ever thought it was normal or necessary. One evening, I got a call from Detective Ramirez back in Chicago. He asked a few clarifications for the Bennett Drury case. I cooperated fully. He said the trial might come soon, and they might request my testimony. After hanging up, I felt nauseous, re-immersed in the memory of blackmail, but also a sense of closure. They had the evidence. Bennett and Jessa were behind bars. Trevor was indicted, Francis abroad. My part in it was done. The next day, I texted Ray, telling him I'd be willing to appear as a witness if needed. He responded politely, "They'll let you know, glad you're stable." That was it. He didn't ask about my life or express any personal warmth. I guess I deserved that. Our bond was severed for good reason. When I closed that text thread, I realized I wanted to talk to him more, to say I missed him, but I knew it would only stir old wounds. We were done. Then came the hardest test. A prospective client at my new workplace recognized me. A local business manager, Mr. Peabody, who used to attend conferences in Chicago. He saw me at a small industry meetup, cornered me after the session. "You're Kelsey Cole, right? Weren't you that T&A scandal woman?" My face flamed. I managed a stammered, "Yes, I'm at a new firm now, trying to rebuild." He snorted, "Guess you can't prostitute your way out of this one, huh?" The venom in his tone was a dagger. He sauntered off with a sneer. I stood there trembling, tears threatening to spill. Another colleague from my new job asked if I was okay. I forced a nod, swallowing the humiliation. That night I cried in bed, cursing my past self for every misguided step. However, the next morning, Megan, my boss, called me into her office, having heard about the incident. I braced for possible firing. Instead, she said, "Peabody's a jerk. Don't let him get to you. You do good work here." "I trust you." The wave of relief nearly made me weep in front of her. She gave me a reassuring pat on the shoulder. "We can't change your past, Kelsey, but as far as I'm concerned, you're doing fine here. Keep it up." That small act of kindness felt monumental. I realized not everyone in the world was a moral executioner waiting to bury me in condemnation. Some believed in redemption. Over time, I found small pockets of happiness. I joined a local gym, started working out in the mornings. The physical effort helped me vent my guilt and stress. I'd push through sets of weights, imagining my old self the one who sneered at Ray, who bragged to Trevor, draining away in sweat. I also attended a few group therapy sessions labeled Professional Women Healing from Toxic Work Environments. Odd name, but it was surprisingly helpful. I listened to others share experiences of harassment or unethical bosses. Mine was worse because I'd actively participated, but they didn't judge me harshly. They commended me for acknowledging responsibility. Meanwhile, I kept an eye on the Trevor trial updates online. The old T&A empire had collapsed. I saw headlines. Trevor found guilty of multiple fraud charges. Sentencing set for next quarter. Some articles rehashed the humiliations at the Gala, referencing me as a central figure. My stomach churned each time, but the headlines gradually moved on to new scandals. One evening, after a particularly intense wave of shame reading online comments, I pulled out my phone, hovered over Ray's contact. Should I call? I wanted to hear his voice, maybe just say I'm sorry again. But I pictured him shaking his head. He's free now. Let him have peace. So I locked my phone, forcing myself to let it go. About 3 months into my new life in St. Louis, I had a small victory. Megan assigned me to lead a local marketing campaign for a mid-level client. I poured my heart into it, writing proposals, designing straightforward brand presentations. No flirting, no innuendos, no illusions. We secured the client. At the post-contract lunch, my manager simply gave me a modest bonus check, no hush deals, no seedy hotel visits, just honest reward for honest work. I cried tears of relief in my car afterward, whispering, "This is how it should have been all along." I realized how warped I'd become under T&A, believing that sex and deception were normal business tactics. This new normal felt painfully refreshing. Still, the nights could be brutal. I'd revisit the betrayal of Ray, hearing his calm voice at the Gala, "You made your bed, Kelsey." Or recall how he'd found me cowering in a motel, trying to salvage me from blackmail. The knowledge that I'd lost a genuine partner for the sake of short-lived corporate clout weighed on me. I alternated between self-loathing and acceptance that I couldn't rewrite the past. Sometimes I journaled, scrawling sentences about how I ended up so lost. I wrote lines like, "Why did I think money was worth more than love?" Or, "I was so stupid to believe Trevor's praise meant more than Ray's devotion." It stung, but it was a therapy of sorts. Another therapy was helping others. I volunteered at a local women's shelter once a month, telling them about boundaries in workplaces. I didn't detail my scandal, but I used vague examples, cautioning them about manipulative bosses. If I could prevent even one person from going down my path, that would be something. Megan eventually noticed my slight improvement in confidence, praising my good attitude. She even promoted me from marketing assistant to associate project coordinator, a small step up. The pay was still modest, but it validated that I could rebuild a career ethically. I took it as a sign. The world might let me atone. The night I learned that Trevor was officially sentenced to prison, I felt an odd swirl of relief and sadness. I poured a small glass of wine in my apartment, raised it in a silent toast to closure. Francis, from what I'd gleaned, was still overseas, likely never to be tried. But I no longer cared. Let him vanish. Let me move on. I did wonder about Ray, whether he found a new partner or if he soared in his security business. Part of me hoped he discovered a better love. He deserves someone who respects him and stands by him. That thought gave me a bittersweet comfort. Not long after, I had an unexpected phone call from Ashley. She apparently found my number from some old record. She apologized for not stepping in sooner at TNA, said she felt partial guilt that she'd let me walk that destructive path. I told her no, it was my own choice, but thanked her for caring. She mentioned that Ray was doing well, forging a new name in security. I felt a pang in my chest. The idea of him thriving without me was sweetly painful. He's strong enough to move on, I thought. At the end of the call, Ashley said, "I hope you find real happiness, Kelsey. We all deserve a chance at redemption." I murmured a grateful thank you, tears gathering. This new quiet life in St. Louis shaped me into a humbler person. I lived simply, a single bed, a tiny dresser, and a second-hand couch. My fridge was half empty most of the time, but I budgeted carefully. No more illusions of wearing $1,000 dresses to wow some investor. The illusions had crumbled along with TNA's empire. On weekends, I sometimes strolled by the river, letting the breeze wash over me, reflecting on how a single year can flip your world from aspiring corporate star to disgraced ex-wife. But each time I felt the sting, I forced myself to breathe deep and appreciate the second chance Megan gave me. I never dated in St. Louis. I still felt too raw, unworthy of trust or closeness. Men at the office or networking events occasionally flirted, but I politely declined. My mind needed a thorough cleansing. My heart was still battered from the violent seesaw of betrayal, blackmail, and public scorn. If I ever date again, I want to be someone honest, someone who doesn't lust for cutthroat advancement. One quiet Sunday, I sat in a small cafe, penning a letter I'd never send. It was titled, "To My Old Self." In it, I wrote, "Stop. Don't sleep with your boss. Talk to Ray. Preserve your integrity. Money isn't worth your soul." Reading it back, tears fell onto the page. It felt cathartic, but painfully too late. The final ripple of closure arrived when the trial for Bennett and Jessa concluded. They were sentenced for forgery, blackmail, assault attempts. I read the updates online. They got multi-year prison terms. That put an end to the blackmail threats. I let out a shuddering sigh of relief. No more nightmares of them showing up at my door. I realized I'd effectively outlived every piece of that toxic TNA circle. Trevor in prison, Bennett and Jessa behind bars, Francis gone. The only link to that old world was Ray, living his new life in Chicago. Our connection severed by my own hand. That's where I stand now. Some nights I still dream of the old illusions, or I see Ray's disappointed face. But I wake up in my small St. Louis apartment, heading off to a normal job. I do my best each day, trying to build a self that's no longer hungry for validation at any cost. I've come to accept that I may never fully outrun the shame, but I can grow around it, like scar tissue that eventually strengthens me. I keep a battered cardboard box of old memories, pictures of Ray and me from simpler times, snapshots of that random Tuesday night laughter. I can't bring myself to toss them. They're a reminder that I once had genuine love and that I threw it away for short-lived glory. Now in my diary I write lines of acceptance. I was Kelsey Cole, the traitor wife, the corporate cautionary tale. But I'm also Kelsey Cole, the woman striving to be better. The pain is real, the regret is constant, but I'm still breathing. Each day I rise, go to work, treat people kindly, and avoid any ladder that demands my moral compromise. That's the best redemption I can muster. Sometimes I imagine a distant future, where maybe I cross paths with Ray by accident in an airport or something. I picture us exchanging polite smiles, him introducing me to someone new, me truly wishing him well. In that imaginary scenario, I see in his eyes a glint of pity or maybe respect that I survived. And I'd nod, grateful we no longer carry the weight of each other's pain. In reality, though, I doubt we'll meet again. And maybe that's okay. Our story ended with me on my knees at a gala, drowning in humiliation, and him standing stoic, letting the world see the truth. He wasn't the side character in my ambitious tale, he was the moral backbone I lacked. Now, ironically, I shape my new life partly in tribute to what I learned from him about integrity. So if there's any moral to my story, it's that betrayal festers from small seeds, a little lie here, a little compromise there. Ambition can be healthy, but if it morphs into a desperate hunger that devours loyalty, love, and honesty, it rots your soul. I learned that the hard way. And yes, I lost the best man I'd ever had. I sometimes still ache for him, Ray, to see me now, living a modest, honest life, apologizing not with words, but with the way I conduct myself. But I know that redemption is an internal process. He doesn't owe me acceptance or even acknowledgement. All I can do is push forward. The shame never leaves entirely, but it evolves into a cautionary scar. Each day I choose to be better than I was at Trevor and Associates. Each day I resist the urge to chase illusions. Each day I remind myself, money is worthless if it costs your soul. Love is precious if you nurture it, tragic if you trample it. That's the vantage point of Kelsey Cole, a woman who soared too close to the false sun of corporate lust, melted her wings and crashed. Now from the ground I'm picking up the broken feathers, stitching them into something more humble, more real. I'll never again be the unstoppable star I once bragged about. But maybe, just maybe, I can become a decent human being who stands on her own 2 feet without shattering hearts along the way. Sometimes, near midnight, I light a small candle in my tiny apartment, close my eyes, and replay the better memories with Ray. Not to torture myself, but to remember that once I was loved purely. I imagine if I could speak to him now, I'd say, "I'm sorry I threw away our marriage for a fool's dream. I wish I'd listened to your quiet strength instead of chasing a boss's empty praise. You were the real ambition, Ray, a man of honesty, resilience. I was too blinded to see it. I hope you found happiness that makes my illusions look like dust. Thank you for saving me from the worst of it, even after I